Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Championship Night in America. This is the Better Sports Network, and this is the FFPC Insider Access Show. My name is Eric Balkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, and, of course, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. So glad to be welcoming back onto this program the tight end whisperer, the fantasy alarmist himself, at Fantasy Alarm on X, at Coop A Fiasco on X. You hear him on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You're going to hear him tonight for 2 full hours. He is Andrew Cooper. Coop, a Merry Christmas and an early Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight. Very excited for this show.
Dude, my pleasure, man. We've been trying to link up on these for a while now, right?
You're too busy. You're too busy.
You switched to Thursday. You got to get off Thursday. I love this Monday slot. This is nice for me, man. I'm down to rock and roll, dude, because I've been trying to link up with you, man. Mr. Good Chalk Balkman, the pride of Appleton, Wisconsin. Like, it's on. You know, I didn't trim my beard for 2 weeks, over 2 weeks for this show in preparation. How'd I do?
Yeah, it looks good. You look less homeless than I do.
Not quite there. Maybe for next year. This time next year, I think I can get to about here. Maybe.
I've said this for years. I was like, I am going to shave my beard like completely off. It's not going to be one of these things where I trim it down, and I have like trimmed it a little bit, but it's going to be one of these things where I will just pop on this show on Insider Access, and I'll be fully clean shaven. I think that's going to happen in 2020.
And shock the world, dude.
Shock
the world.
Ratings will go like excited. The downloads will go crazy.
People probably won't even know who you are. They'll be like, "Who the hell is that guy, dude?"
I think yes, they will. And we'll touch on this throughout the show tonight. So Coop and I are going to go around the NFL, what we saw in Week 17. We're also going to give not only our reactions to what we saw in Week 17, but kind of a springboard into not week 18, a springboard into 2026 NFL drafts as well. So a lot of the stuff, like we have seen the last of some players this season. We will get one more week of a sample size in week 18, and then we'll talk about what you should be doing with these guys with the FFPC launching best ball drafts here within the next couple of weeks, roughly, maybe even sooner than that. Coop, I'll give you a chance to do this at the end of the show, but to tee things off, you're on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You're on X at Coop A Fiasco. You're doing a lot of stuff for FantasyAlarm.com. Tell us a little bit, not only how you're wrapping up the season as far as the content you're producing, but as well as what you're doing in the off season as well.
Of course, man. I always say I'm going to take a break, and then I take about 15-minute break, and it's right back. I mean, because my favorite part of this is the rampant speculation. It is the best part of it. Best ball makes it so much fun. So I'll get right back into it. I am going to take it. We'll take one little trip to Florida to see my parents down in Naples, bring the daughter and the wife. So we're going to do that, but it never stops, man. So I am still doing rankings and everything for this week. Week 18, I'll tell you what, if there was ever a time to reach out and thank your local content creator, it's this week, man, because I tell you, it's 3 times the work with all these different guys sitting and different people, different teams benching guys and different, Justin Herbert not playing. 3 times the work for probably about 6 or 7 people that actually play week 18, right? So it's just like it's a brutal setup for us this week. But hey, we're gonna do it. We're gonna have all the DFS content, all that. But in the back of our mind, we're looking ahead to next week, and that's where you really are. We're gonna have the playoffs set, and we can get going on those FFPC playoff challenges. I love that one. I'm bringing a ringer on my show, Mr. Theo Rhamondre. I know you know him well, dude. He's big in the because I don't want to mess around with that, So I bring him in. And we're going to go over. I got 2 articles. One's already up. One kind of just breaks down how the contest works. Shout out to our friends over there at Fantasy Mojo who have like a lot of the history. So I go through all the history and I'm like, okay, what worked, what didn't, and I give a basic one. That article's up at FantasyAlarm.com, and then I go through and I give a second one where I look at individual teams and players. And last year I actually even did like a little grid that was like, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm looking at. It's such a good contest, man. It truly is the best one. So I'm doing a lot of content on that. I'm going to do a little playoff best ball, all that. And then off season, man, first thing I do is I go through and just break down every team by team, what players could get released, what players are free agents. And that's how we set what players are locked into their roles, what players might be competing for their role. And that's how we set the foundation for the combine and free agency and the draft. So that's the very next thing for me. And the wheels keep on churning, man. I'm oddly very excited to go through and be like, okay, who's locked in, who's going to get cut, where can we get our advantage? It's my favorite part of the year. Favorite part of the year.
I will say this. I am spending the Super Bowl in Louisville, Kentucky this year with the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Coop, I am drafting 9 teams for 2026 on Super Bowl weekend prior to the Super Bowl going off, and I'm very excited for it. And obviously, I'll be using your insight, your knowledge, and Fantasy Alarm tools to draft those teams, so I can not only maximize the value I can get on players before the sort of the mass public realizes free agency, the NFL draft, and everything, so on and so forth with that, but how things change with the NFL draft, right? You want to make sure you get as much value as you can in these drafts prior to late April, prior to early May, to make sure that you're set up in a good spot to cash in on free agency, but really have that core, that team that can take you to the heights coming.
And that's something the FFPC does really well, in my opinion, which is your contest, like, because we say, oh, never too early contest, it's too early or whatever, but you set them up so that they end at the right time, right? Like, so you're still drafting against because what people are worried about is like, oh, if I go in and I do these contests, I'm going to end up competing against people that are drafting at a different time than me when there's more information and different things. The way you guys set them up is everybody's kind of in this pod where you're in the boat together, and then that contest closes and another one comes out. And I know you guys, and last year he ended on the Thursday of the draft, right? And then it's over. And then when the draft happens, the next one opens. So it's nice. It's set up really nice that way, where you're actually competing against the people that have the same information as you have, or at least they can't be from the future. Because some contests, when they're not set up like that, I don't like it, man. I don't like having to try and time things in a certain way. No. So that's very exciting. Are you going to do a little Bourbon Trail tour over there while you're down there?
Well, here's the thing. So I have been invited to do that, and like I go to Kentucky every August as well for the actual Kentucky main event, live events or whatever. And I know there's always a Bourbon Trail that people go on Fridays. But my whole thing is I do a show right here on the Better Sports Network on Thursdays. And then when I come in on Friday, I'm usually drafting during the day. And then at night I do another show. And so like the Bourbon Trail is kind of lost to me because I'm just there to draft. I think last year I drafted 11 teams in one weekend, which was fantastic.
You're a monster, man.
So much fun. It was so much fun. But again, like doing what I do at the FFPC, I'm commissioning a lot of live leagues. I'm doing a lot of other stuff behind the scenes. So it's very difficult for me to get away that time of year unless I'm drafting teams, which is kind of what I'm planning on doing.
I want to get down there, and I'll skip it. I'm doing the Bourbon Trail. I'll do one draft.
I can hook you up. I know people that go on that every year, Coop, and they'd love to have you.
Farrell, it's Farrell Elliott in the gang, right, dude? That's the truth.
Now, Farrell won't go on it because Farrell basically lives the Bourbon Trail. But there's plenty of other people that go on this. Jamie Cox, Ron Meyer, people that Fantasy Alarm people that love you. That like if they found out that you were able to come on this Bourbon Trail with them, it would be the highlight of their lives. So
I'll tell you, I'm a sneaky bourbon aficionado, dude.
There you go.
Not, dude. Yeah, I got a couple bottles of Eagle Rare 17.
Nice.
I got some Mictors, got some decent ones stashed away, dude. Some of the E.H. Taylors, things like that. So
E.H. Taylor
surprise some people. I got a couple barrel none of like the wedding anniversary tornado survivor ones, but I've got some decent ones. So.
Do you? I guarantee we'll get into fantasy football in a little bit. Pappy changed their recipe because there was a fire or something, and so the Pappy Van Winkle that's made now is not the original Pappy. I've never had either one. Would you be down for the new Pappy, or is that too bastardized a version of it for you?
So I got a Pappy 15 downstairs, and I personally like the Pappy 15 over the other ones, regardless of recipe. Once you get out to like 20 years, 23 years, too much tannins, right? So it stays in the barrel for too long. It's too tannic. It's like when you drink like a wine and it makes your mouth more dry than it was before you had liquid. I don't like that. So for me, I don't know with those. I do know, the same thing with some of the other ones when Harlan Wheatley took over, a lot of the recipes changed. But for me, I don't have an advanced enough palate to to be deciphering between one Pappy or the other. All I know is that the Evan Williams, 100 proof in my basement, no matter what flavor of Pappy you got, it's going to be better than that. So, I'm all for all of it.
We have a safety here in Northeast Wisconsin for the Green Bay Packers named Evan Williams. And Coop, since he got drafted a couple years ago, I've been trying to coin him the Bourbon Basher. It has not caught on yet.
What the heck?
I know. I'm trying to make it catch on, but it hasn't.
You know who else is super connected in Bourbon and actually has one that's like won a couple awards? I'm not sure if you know. Do you know? Have you ever heard of Charles Woodson's Bourbon?
Yeah, it's solid. It's solid.
You tried it?
Yes, I have.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's solid. Here's the thing, and I told Farrell this. If you come to Wisconsin, and like with all due respect to Charles Woodson, the bourbon I really, really like is J. Henry and Sons. It's out of Madison, or just outside of Madison, and that stuff is flipping fantastic. That is listen, I'll tell you to try the Charles Woodson stuff if you're here, but I'm telling you, like if you come to Wisconsin, J. Henry and Sons, that is the.
I'm pulling up right now. That's a good looking bottle.
It's
sharp, a sharp signature on there. Okay,
it's good. It's good. Trust me.
Keep my eyes peeled, man.
All right.
Bourbon talk. Should we talk a little football at some point?
We'll talk football.
I'm down. I can do bourbon, 1 hour bourbon, 1 hour football. If you want.
Yeah, exactly. So Coop was referring to this earlier in the program. The world famous FFPC challenge is live at myffpc.com. To formulate these teams, there is no draft, there is no salary cap, there's no convoluted rules. You don't have to modify your team, your lineup throughout the playoffs. You just set it and forget it prior to that wild card round starting. Pick 12 players on this squad. For $200 entry fee, you will be eligible for a $500,000 grand prize. For a $35 entry fee, you will be eligible for a $100,000 grand prize. Think about that. I don't know how your fantasy season went, but if it didn't go the way you wanted to, just think about this. You can turn $35 into $100,000. It's easier than you might think based on previous results of this contest. Sign up now, myffpc.com. What's the slant? Only one player per team. If you want Drake May, you can't have TreVeyon Henderson. If you want Jalen Hurts, you can't have Saquon Barkley. That's what we're looking at myffpc.com. Shout out to our producer tonight, Matt Deutsch, who is running things behind the board. We got a bunch of people hanging out in the chat. By the way, shout out to Tip Major tonight in the chat, and I want to make sure that we make everybody aware of this. Tip Major, who is a scribe for Football Guys, works for Rotoballer as well. Maybe a future guest co-host on the show. You never know. Tip is watching this. He has also reposted the stream on X. Thank you, Tip, so much. We appreciate that. And he needs a Monday Night Miracle. Good luck on that, Tip. Let us know what you're looking for. Dummy Man Pluto, he is down 11 with Kyron Williams and Kyle Pitts, full PPR. He's hoping for the best. Coop, I would much rather be the team that is down 11 with Kyron Williams and Kyle Pitts, assuming the other guy does not have anybody tonight. That's where I want to be at on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I'm not a big projections guy, but if I was down 11 with Kyron, I'd feel all right. And Kyle Pitts has looked great lately. Yeah, people have to admit that he's come around a bit. He looks healthy for once, and he passed the test last week with Drake London returning. I know Drake maybe not up to 100% speed himself, but he passed the test there. I got to say, I got a league here where I'm going up against Drake London, and I'm up 16.6. So I could use a little maybe Drake London. Take it easy. That's a cool league, Baki. Did Bender or anybody tell you about our Sirius XM Music League we did this year?
The Music League.
We reached out to all this was Jacob's idea over there. He was like, you know what? Let's see if the other hosts on the Sirius XM channels play fantasy football. I've heard a couple. So he talked to J1, the producer that runs all the hip hop channels, and he was like, I love fantasy. He's like, I listen to. He's like, don't tell our people, but when I listen to your channel, like during the week, like when it's like setting my lineup, he's like, I listen to you guys. So we reached out, dude. We got so many responses that we had to kind of narrow it down, and we put together a league that's like J1 from hip hop. We got like Nick Ultra and the guys from the Highway, the country channel.
Oh yeah.
We got it's me versus them. It's me versus Nick Ultra and those guys for the championship. But yeah, so I beat Bender last week, and I'm in it against them. But it's cool. It's all the hosts from the Music League, and they were all amped up, man, and they're good, man. They're sharp. I mean, some of these guys, dude. So super cool. That's the one I'm sweating out tonight. All my other ones have been settled so far, and I did pretty good this year.
Let me ask you this, and I was going to save this, but I'll bring it up right now. This dynasty league I'm in, nobody cares about your fantasy football team. I'm trying to go back to back in it. I was texting with the guy that I'm going with against Coop. I'm not going to reveal which side I'm on. Who would you rather be in this scenario? This is full PPR. I'll repeat, full PPR. One side is done, and they are up 27.4. The other side is down 27.4, but they have Puka Nacua. Who would you rather be in this scenario?
Whew, I mean, dude, give me the points. Give me the. I mean,
give the points.
Here's the thing: if you asked me to make a list of the players that I would want to have if I needed a 30 bomb, Puka Nacua is on the list. Top 5 for sure. I mean, give me CMC and a couple of these guys, but I would want Puka Nacua. But I mean, asking for a 30 bomb in any given week, that's a nail biter, man. I think I would just take the points. There's too many outs when it comes to that kind of stuff where it's like a team gets up big or the run game is working well. I just hey, AJ Terrell's doing his job. I mean, I don't know. Give me the points on that one. I hate to say it, but it's more fun if you have Puka and you win. But that's a tough sweat. I
am thanks to Colston Loveland, I am the team that's done, but up 27.4.
I'm on your side. I'm on your side on that one.
Coop, I appreciate that. I will say this, and we'll get into more of this coming up in about a half hour or so. 27.4, Puka Nacua all season long has only hit 4 times. He's only hit 27.4 4 times all season. The problem, 3 of those 4 times, the last 3 weeks. So he's, and obviously Devontae Adams has had a lot to do with that. I want to talk a little bit about the Rams and where they stand in the playoffs and how that might affect what Sean McVay does tonight, or maybe not affect what he does tonight in a little bit. Coop, let's get into it. I want to kick things off in New York here because we are going to be talking a lot of Giants football over the course of the next several months, given that it looks like they will be drafting number 2, and it also looks like they probably might be trading out of that pick, given their stance on Jaxson Dart and the way he's played. And there's a lot of quarterback needy teams in the NFL, as there is every single year. Mike Kafka, who is the interim coach, took over for Brian Dable a couple of weeks ago, says that he has no doubts that Jaxson Dart has proven he can be a franchise quarterback. Now, listen, I don't want to come on this show and say, oh, the Giants are loaded for next year. Like, look out for the Giants. They're going to be threatening the Eagles in the NFC East. But I will say this. They're going to have Jaxson Dart for a full season next year. They're going to have Cam Scatterbo, assuming full health, which I think he will be at week 1. Same thing with Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson is coming off a 1,000-yard season. Theo Johnson gave us many, many, many startable weeks in the FFPC as far as tight ends go this year. Abdul Carter, I didn't even realize this, second in the NFL in pressures so far this year. So he's been a force considering everything else they have on that defensive line. I mean, Andrew Thomas looks like a franchise left tackle as well. I'm looking at the Giants next year. Again, when we're talking about 2026 drafts here, dude, I look at stuff kicking off in a couple of weeks and being very bullish on what I'm seeing for New York. Am I wrong in this? Are you seeing it a different way? What do you look at, or what are you looking for with the Giants in 2026 drafts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely seeing that. And if I'm Mike Kafka, I'm saying the same thing because they love Dart, so you're trying to audition for that job. So you come out and say, yeah, me, Dart, we're best friends. Let's keep me around. That's not what I would do if I was the Giants. I love where they're at right now. And the thing about the modern NFL and where things are going is that, unfortunately, it's very difficult to hire a good offensive coordinator away to be your offensive coordinator. It doesn't happen in the modern era here. There's not on defense. You got a couple guys like Steve Spagnuolo that just want to be the defensive coordinator, but you got to make the guy your head coach with these guys. Like you got it with Liam Cohen, taking him away from the Buccaneers. You got to make him your head coach. What I would do if I were them, and maybe controversial name, Clint Kubiak. I know he's a little bit on the younger side. Man, just look at what he's done with Sam Darnold. Look at what even just last year, early in the year with the Saints. You go back to the Brock Purdy's time with him in 2023 when he was the pass game coordinator for the 49ers. The second best EPA season that we've seen in like 10 years per play besides Sam Darnold early this year. I mean, like he is kind of that guy that simplifies the offense. And what he'll also do, which is what you would what you would do the moment you bring this guy in is do what the Bears did and just spend all your money in the trenches on the offensive line. And Kubiak will bring Rick Dennison and all these guys over, right? Just like the Seahawks, they brought in Gray Zabel and not much, but these guys are so good at the offensive line work that they turned it around that quickly from being one of the worst and least coherent offensive line groups in the league to being pretty decent. I mean, that's what I would do. Make Kubiak the head coach, find some sort of defensive coordinator, and beef up the trenches because you just rattled off all the weapons. They're good there. And when you bring in Kubiak's scheme, which uses a fullback, uses 2 tight ends, they have Daniel Bellinger too. You don't even need to go out and get a third wide receiver. All you need is Neighbors and Wan'Dale. I mean, that for me is what I would be doing. I would give the guy whatever he wants, make him the king of New York, and go from there, man. That's my offseason plan for the Giants if they choose to accept it.
Is Jaxson Dart a top 10 quarterback in redraft for you next year? Right now?
I mean, I'll tell you what, historically speaking, every guy that's willing to run essentially 5 times a game, every quarterback that's run 85 times in a season and has played at least 16 games has finished as a QB, a top 10 QB in fantasy. Literally the only time a guy has run 90 times and not finish that high was, you have to go back to Colin Kaepernick in like 2014. Like, if you're willing to run in fantasy, that's it. It's broken. It's a cheat code. So for me, Jaxson Dart, the fact that he went through the concussions, he said, hey, that's the way I play. I'm not changing. Did the whole thing, the classic Jersey guy. He's perfect for him, and Cam Scattergo are perfect for the Giants. But the fact that he's willing to run is all I care about. Absolutely could be this year's Drake May. I mean, he already was putting up QB 3-4 weeks when he was healthy, man. So yeah, I'm all for Dart. Absolutely.
I think about what he's been able to do as a rookie this year. I think about what Malik Neighbors has shown us he could do as a rookie. Obviously was robbed of his sophomore season here, but he's coming back. Theo Johnson, who's really come on, the second third of the season essentially as what it were. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, a guy that was a downfield threat in college and really wasn't used that way in the pros till this year. I mean, he's had a couple of games, maybe even more than a couple of games, Coop, where he was targeted downfield, whether it be Russell Wilson, Jaxson Dart, Jameis Winston. He was getting stuff downfield. This past game, 14 targets, again, without Neighbors, I get it. But he catches 11 of them. He goes over 110 yards in this game, goes over 1,000 yards on the season. Next year, people will be very excited to draft Malik Neighbors, obviously. But when it comes to Wan'Dale Robinson, and I have to look, I should have looked at the spot rack on Wan'Dale Robinson before this, but I look at what he could bring to the table as not the alpha receiver on this team, because that's going to be Neighbors, obviously, but what he could bring to the table as a number 2 wide receiver on this team. He is going to be a unrestricted free agent. He's done in New York after this year. I'd like to think that he's back in New York, but if he's not, how do we handle him in drafts, knowing what he's been able to put on tape this year, knowing the stats that he's been able to put up? Wan'Dale Robinson, sort of an afterthought, the PPR scam, as a lot of people called him. He's more than that at this point, and I think he might, and I don't know what the wide receiver class is going to look like in free agency, he might secure a bag next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, that's what we look for and hopefully wait for a lot of times in Dynasty, right? So when you're going over to FFPC and you're sorting through the Dynasty orphans, right? Look for these guys that get a chance to pick where they go, and the team is going to pay them a bunch of money. And in most cases, these guys, if you're going to go out and get guys like Wan'Dale Robinson or Josh Downs when he becomes a free agent, or Jaden Reed when he becomes a free agent, a lot of the times these guys have been used as part-time players by the teams they're with now, because that's the scheme and it's what it is. But if you're going to be the guy that pays this guy a second contract, you better have a setup for him where he could be an every down player, whether you're going to run 2 tight end sets like Kubiak, so you don't need a split end and you don't need these guys to be tethered to the line because they're smaller players, or whether you just put him in a slot flanker role or a Chris Godwin type role where he's playing slot, moves out wide for 2 wide receiver sets. Like, that's what you wait for these guys. That's why you go through and sort those teams and try and find guys like that where their role is going to kind of be forced to grow. Because you saw guys, we've seen it a million times. CeeDee Lamb only played slot. 94% of his routes came from the slot as a rookie. We saw it with JSN. We saw it for 2 years with Chris Godwin. And then third year, he got a full-time role. And what happened? Laser show. Like these guys, man, they're going to go somewhere inside. And we've seen it at tight end too. Just another example that left New York himself for years, Evan Engram, 6'4", 235 pounds, not an inline tight end. Jason Garrett was using him like that. That's not right. And then they try to put him out wide and it wasn't working in that scheme. When he became a free agent, he looked around and he said, who uses my skill set? And he found Doug Peterson, who has a history using Zach Ertz as a big slot tight end. And when that happened, boom, like the second receptions all the time, by only a season by Zach Ertz in Doug Peterson's scheme. Like in free agency, if you have a good agent, they should be setting you up to succeed. So for Wan'Dale Robinson, that's the kind of guy I want to have, because if they're going to keep him with the Giants, great. He's already a guy that gets 10 targets a game there. Whatever team's going to pay this guy, they're not going to pay him to be a part-time slot guy. That would be a mistake for everyone involved. So that's the hope for Wan'Dale, that a team looks at him and says, hey, you know what? They haven't been using you right over there. We're going to use you in a way that has some big upside for you.
I think that he's one of those players that could be an afterthought in drafts next year. Wow, they got waivers or whatever. But when you consider what you just said, the fact that this dude could be on a different team next year, the fact that this dude could be paid like a number one wide receiver, this is the type of guy that you'd be looking at if you're drafting in January, if you're drafting in February, as a round 10, 11, 12, whatever player that could end up paying off round 5 value. Be ready to hop on the Wan'Dale Robinson Express this year.
For sure.
There was a player, so Coop, just to set this up, back in 2024, I effed up a lineup in one of my dynasty leagues where I started Lamar Jackson on a bye instead of Brock Purdy. It ultimately cost me the final playoff spot, and I played it out how it would have gone. I would have taken second place in this dynasty league, but I screwed it up by starting Lamar Jackson on a bye. As a result, I marched through the consolation bracket, secured the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 rookie dynasty draft, which I took Ashton Jeanty in. And now I'm in the thick of it here in the final week. It's a 4-team, 2-week sprint. I don't think I can win it. I might be able to get second place, but that's beside the point. I have Ashton Jeanty for his career until I decide to move him, or if not, I have him and his stats in Las Vegas, which have not been great this year. But if you look back to week 16, he blew up. You found out what this dude was capable of with or without a good offensive line. I have to believe the Raiders are going to put an onus on finding a quarterback, finding some offensive line help for Ashton Jeanty next year. They have one of the best running backs, in my opinion, in the NFL, and Jeanty, one of the best, if not the best tight end in the NFL, in Brock Bowers. Jeanty this past week, 16 carries for 60 yards. He got 2 catches for 13 yards. Once again, not a lot of space to run behind this offensive line, even though you're up against the New York Giants defense, which, granted, I was praising Abdul Carter earlier. They can get after the quarterback, but as far as stopping the run, they've been hit or miss on that for the remainder of the season, or for the majority of the season, excuse me. Jeanty next year will not be a first-round pick. He may not even be a second-round pick. But when you look at how we handle Jeanty in 2026 drafts, this is the type of player that if you're drafting prior to the NFL draft, drafting prior to free agency, maybe you can get him at a discount. And all of a sudden, if the Raiders did what the Bears did this past year, where they're trading for Joe Thuney, they're signing a Dolman from the Falcons, where they're improving their offensive line here, and the Bears have been one of the best offensive lines in the NFL this year. All of a sudden, Jeanty looks like a 4th-round pick, a 3rd-round pick that could pay off first-round value. I am very bullish in early round drafts on Ashton Jeanty, willing to accept the risk that the Raiders are going to Raider and they won't improve the offensive line, and it'll be a repeat of 2025 this coming year in 2026. But I hold out hope that Tom Brady, John Spytek, who I've said on the show multiple times, I've shared a high school football field with back in when we were competing against each other in the state of Wisconsin state high school playoffs. I believe in Spytek. That's probably on me. Like, maybe I shouldn't, but I think he's a smart guy. He came up with the Tampa Bay team when they were winning all those titles, or winning the Super Bowl and winning all these NFC South titles. I believe in the Raiders. I believe in Jeanty. I believe they're going to get it right. And I believe Jeanty, even though he could be a 3rd or 4th round pick next year, might return massive, massive value in 2026. Coop, how do you see the situation as it stands right now here at the end of 2025?
Yeah, I'll say the first situation we have here is we have an investigation that needs to be opened into you sandbagging this dynasty league on purpose to get Ashton Jeanty. I mean, I can't believe there's no Jeanty gate. Was that brought up in the chat, dude? Or?
You know, here's the thing, just real quick on that. So when I realized what I did and I realized what my team looked like, because my team ended up, it was the runner-up the year before. So it was a good team that just got bit by some injuries. I immediately, when I realized what I did, I emailed the commissioner. I said, hey, no malfeasance here. I just screwed up. I forgot to start this guy in a bye. The commissioner's like, look, I totally get it. Whatever. It's fine. And no backlash. Nobody complained about it. But
a likely story.
It has set me up here. Listen,
a likely story for a professional, consummate professional, oldest trick in the book, the old QB on the bye trick. Yeah. No, I believe you, brother. I believe it. But I will say, this kind of player, especially in Dynasty, I want to get in on. And again, Spytech tied his career to this player, right? 100%. He even brought his kids, when he was talking about his kids, he was like, look, I'm kicked out of the family. They're going to be looking for a new dad if I don't draft this guy. So he's tied to him, just like James Gladstone now tied to Travis Hunter with the trade that he did there. Those are the guys, like I usually trust those guys. And again, my dynasty thought process is always SORT, S-O-R-T, nice, easy acronym. Start opportunity, but roster talent. I want as many talented players on my team as possible. I just want to collect them and then hope that their window of opportunity opens, right? I mentioned earlier, JSN, Lamb, Godwin, Saquon Barkley had some down years when we knew he was good. We knew he was a great player, but the Giants were terrible. Like, I want to get those guys. And I'll go as far as to say guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., guys like that, like where I believe in the player, I want to collect those guys. And in redraft, I think right now, people are going to, especially when things first open, he's probably going to be down, right? People are going to be down on him. But as we go through and people truly recognize how few running backs are even capable of getting 70% of the snaps, just the snaps, right? Like how many, like, what is it, 14, 15? Once people realize the reality of you only have so many even chances at this kind of upside, he's going to get steamed up a little bit, I think, because once the reality of how many split backfields there are, the reality of how many truly bad teams there are, once that sets in, people are going to say, you know what? I just got to take my shot here instead of going for some of these other backfields where I know it's going to be split and I know it's going to be ugly. So I think at the end of the day, he's going to be a guy that is going to be locked in as an RB2 in a lot of lineups all year long.
I think that we need to go back and talk about the SORT strategy for Dynasty, Coop. Start opportunity, roster talent. When it comes to it, I think the start opportunity aspect is requiring Dynasty owners to make trades for immediate help, and then roster talent, not roster opportunity. I'm screwing up. Roster talent. These are the players that you can pick up in your rookie drafts or maybe off of waivers. I think about how NFL teams, I think the smart NFL teams have handled this situation for their own selves over the course of the last 15, 20, 30 years. It seems like, and I'll reference the Green Bay Packers because I think they do it right. They're constantly looking at who is up for a deal. And they don't pay players unless you're special. They don't pay players in Green Bay that second contract unless you're really, really good. And then maybe the third contract if you're really, really, really good, right? So I think they've always looked at it from the standpoint of they are going to draft talent. They are going to draft a talent, develop that talent, and then they know if they have a hole where a draft pick didn't work out, a free agent signing didn't work out, then they will soak the money into drafting a starter that can immediately help. In other words, if you need help at offensive tackle right away, you don't draft that player. You sign that player in free agency, right? But if you know a player that has been really good on your team at defensive end, at corner, at wide receiver, and you know their contract's up and they haven't developed that talent, they haven't had that production on the field to warrant that second deal or maybe the third deal, that's when you are looking at drafting players, that those players that you currently have can play out their contract, whether it be one more year or 2 more years. But then you already have that player stepping in, ready to be a starter right away. And I think that's what the advice we can give for dynasty players out there right away.
Yes.
If you have a hole, if you know you need a wide receiver one, or if you know you need a second running back's not the greatest example, but tight end one, quarterback one, then go ahead and swing your sword and get that deal done. But if you know that, like, listen, you think about Jonathan Taylor or players like this, that not Jamar Chase is a bad example, Mike Evans, maybe, like, where these guys are maybe good, or Travis Kelce, they're maybe good one more year, maybe no more years, then you can acquire the talent, have that guy ready to step in when you need them. I think that in that sense, the way that the good NFL teams do it mirrors the way that good dynasty teams do it as well,
Yes.
as far as trading, drafting, whatever.
100%, man. And I will say the Packers, for years, you guys are such a homegrown team. It was crazy. I remember one year you had 3 guys on the team. That's it, that were free agents. Everybody else was drafted. I think one of the only free agents you brought in was John Kuhn at the time. It was like crazy how homegrown it was. And like, you can do that in dynasty. But I'll tell you this is probably one of my more controversial takes, but like, people don't like hearing it. But I think that the average dynasty player spends way too much time on the pre-draft process. And I know how much fun it is to watch highlights and film and do all that, because that's the most fun part of it. Like, watching football is the most fun part of this job and everything. But so many people spend so much time ranking what amounts to 40 prospects, which you're going to pick 2 to 4 of them in your draft. And a lot of those are going to be predetermined draft slots where you're only going to be picking from, based on what your tiers are, you're going to be on the clock and you're going to be picking from one of 3 guys from your tiers. I think people put so much effort into that, and then they spend maybe 30 minutes of the year trying to hammer out trades. Like, that is the easiest way to set yourself up in a position to not only win now, if you're in that spot, but also to win later. But like, people don't want to do it. They don't want to put in the effort to just send out some trade offers and make the roster maneuvers that you need to win. Like, I'm a huge proponent of pushing the chips and winning now, which is what the Rams do in the NFL, right? Like, the Rams went out and identified the problem they had. Why hasn't Matthew Stafford been able to throw more than 25 touchdown passes in a couple years here? It's because you don't have an end zone presence. A guy that knows how to win on one-on-one, and the guy that knows how to get away with a little push off here and there and make things happen. And they went out and they found that exact guy. They courted him by sending the highlights. We said, we're going to win now. And they went and got the exact guy they needed. And he's been awesome. Right. And on the flip side, and I hate to bash them while they're down a little bit, but like, Brandon Beane, the GM for the Bills, he came out and said, we don't want to do what the Rams do. We don't want to mortgage the future. And you know what the Rams did? They mortgaged the future. They won, and then they mortgaged the future again. And now they're looking like they might win again. Meanwhile, Brandon Beane, Dalton Kincaid, and people say, oh, well, he hasn't had – they haven't been trying. They've been trying. They drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round, right? Keon Coleman was picked 33. They threw $29 million at Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like $18 million guaranteed. $18 million guaranteed, that gets you a ball player. You know what I mean? And if you had invested that into a 1-year older guy for 1 year, that would have been somebody great. They could have had Stephon Diggs. I know he probably wouldn't want to go back, but like, you know, guys like these guys were available. You could have gone and got Devontae Adams, right? You could have made these moves. They could have traded for Rashid Shaheed at the deadline, probably. You know, now they're using Brandon Cooks and these guys. It's just, for me, you only get so many opportunities to push the chips. You got to push them while the window's open. That goes for the NFL. That goes for every team. I'm a Patriots fan, and it is exciting that the team is doing well this year, and it's been an easy schedule and all that. But next year, I want pedal to the metal, because we got a QB on a rookie contract. And when we've seen it with the 49ers, the moment you've got to pay that guy the big contract, bye-bye to some of these guys. Hufanga, gone. Had to trade Debo. Like, now's the time. Strike while the iron's hot. Patriots next year, you need to push the chips. Blammo.
And then there's more of an onus on your draft picks, right? Like, you got to be able to be hitting on those guys, right? And I couldn't help but, and maybe this is like me having recency bias. You remember that game, the Bills Chiefs game a few years ago, where it was like, you know, there was like 14 scores in the last 2 minutes of the game. It was an absolutely insane game. And then I'm watching this insane game yesterday with the Bills and Eagles, which was, you know, from a football standpoint, a dramatic standpoint, really, really fun to watch. But I couldn't help but watch that game, the duration of the game. And I'm like, God, if only the Bills had a guy like Stephon Diggs, if only they had this alpha receiver. And this is coming from a guy in Green Bay who has craved an alpha receiver. And maybe they found one with Watson. Reed, certainly is in the conversation. Matthew Golden, we'll see what he develops into. But you see the difference between these teams that have these go-to guys on third downs or even first downs or second downs that you could pick up chunk yardage on. A.J. Brown doesn't grow on trees. You can't just harvest a Puka Nacua from the ground. Like, you have to find these guys, develop them. And I think that, if Green Bay and Buffalo don't win the Super Bowl this year, and it looks like neither one of them will, their fan bases and the pundits will be telling you part of the reason is because of their inability to either pick the right, trade for the right, or develop the right wide receiver. And that pertains to fantasy as well.
It's huge. You just gotta give your, like, especially with these windows for these teams. I look at it like you look at Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. You can't run like that forever. Josh Allen became the first guy to run 100 times in a season at age 28 or older, since it's only happened 3 times. Michael Vick, Cam Newton, and him. It's like you're gonna need to change the way you play soon. And it's not like these guys weren't available. That's the other part of it, is that, like, you can go out, like, you have Khalil Shakir, but couldn't you use another Khalil Shakir, right? Like, anyone could have had Jacoby Myers. Anyone could have had Jacoby Myers, right? Like, that's, you pointed stuff like that where it's like he was traded for nothing. He just had back-to-back 10-target, 100-yard games for this Jaguars team. Like, James Gladstone is, and James, where James Gladstone came from? He worked for Les Snead, right? Brad Holmes worked for Les Snead, back-to-back GM of the year. Like, it's getting to the point in Dynasty, Balky, where I actually start looking at what GM is drafting these players, and I factor that in as a tiebreaker. It's not like everything for me, but for years we did it the other way. When Bill Belichick drafts a wide receiver, you fade him, right? We did that for years. Why don't we start doing it the other way? If Brad Holmes comes out and says he loves a player, the guy that found Amon-Ra St. Brown, if Les Snead comes out and says he loves a player, the guy that found Puka Nacua, the guy that found Kyron Williams, right? Like, when we respect these guys, Howie Roseman, James Gladstone, I'm factoring that in these days. When I get to the point where it's like I'm picking day 3 guys and it's a 5% hit rate, I'm putting my money on Bashal Tutin. Why? Because James Gladstone likes him, right? I'm putting my money on Isaac Tesla because Brad Holmes likes him. When you're splitting hairs like that, like, these guys have a proven track record and they have a totally different process than everyone else. Like, I start factoring that in, and some of these other GMs, you look around, like, if Duke Tobin or Mickey Loomis or these guys are picking guys, Jerry Jones, maybe I don't want those guys.
No, I think you make a good point on that. And it's probably something that, again, to your point, we don't want to make it seem like that is the focal point of
course not.
Dynasty assessment. But when it comes down to it, you've been there, I've been there, where you're on the clock in the 3rd round or the 4th round or whatever. Well, how am I breaking this?
Exactly. It's like, and part of it is like, okay, what are they seeing, right? These guys are the best at what they do, right? And we know draft capital is great, so we look at it and say, okay, what does Brad Holmes see in this player? And you try and use that as part of the game. Yeah. So again, I'm not telling people, hey, go off draft capital, and then when you get to the 3rd round, just draft whoever gets picked by the Lions. It's not even a crazy strategy, though, honestly. But, like, we're not telling people that, but factor that in. Be like, hey, you know what? I'm evaluating talent myself. Do I trust Duke Tobin? I don't. Like, some of these GMs, if I don't trust the GM and his talent evaluation, then it's hard for me to look at it and say, man, I think this time he finally got it right.
I know when there's 24 players off the board in my dynasty leagues, I am looking for stuff exactly like this, Coop. I'm looking for reasons to differentiate, between players, and that's a perfect way to do it at this point. All right, we've ignored the YouTube chat long enough. I want to get into this.
Get him in here.
Bring him in. Next couple of minutes. Albert Marakeen 602 is down by 45. However, he has Matthew Stafford, Bijan Robinson, and Puka Nacua left. I'll be honest with you. I think I'd rather be on Albert's side rather than the up 45 standpoint. Coop, how do you weigh in on this?
First of all, Albert's my guy. He's popped into a lot of these chats. I see him on here. I see him he's on our YouTube and stuff. So I'm always on Albert's side. But I'll tell you what, I want to be on that side for a very specific reason. This game is going to be so much more fun for Albert, and it stinks for the other guy. That other dude's been thinking about this game all day. He doesn't want to watch this game, right? Like I wouldn't want to watch the game either. Oh, he's got to tune in and be like, "Oh, I hope this game is terrible." That's awful, dude. Yeah, so I'd much rather be like, "Okay, let's have a shootout." I have the 3 best players in the game, right? Easily the 3 best players in this game, and let's see if it's a good game. So Albert, either way, you're in for a fun one here, buddy. And I know, hey, if the game's bad, it's bad, but at least right now you can get real excited, dude. I'm excited for you.
Total in this game is 48.5, so we should see some points scored in this game.
Let's go, baby. Hey, Albert, yeah, dude, hedge your bets a little bit. Bet the under.
You could do that as well.
Because if those 3 dudes have a bad day today, then it's going under. So hedge your bet by betting the under a little bit. Sprinkle.
If those 3 guys have bad games, it might go under 40, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
You do the reverse tease it the other way. Ray Gamer 7046 is down by 6.5. This is a standard league, so non-PPR. He has Kyren Williams left versus Pitts. And he says he's not going to watch because he'll be stressing too much. Hoping I can pull this off, but Kyren Williams never has went back-to-back with less than 10 points. Having faith. We'll see in this one. Down by 6.5 and having Kyren Williams versus Kyle Pitts in a non-PPR, it's close. I think I'm with Ray's side. I'd rather be down with Williams rather than up 6.5 with Pitts, but it's close, Coop.
Yeah, I mean, tight ends, I got to be honest, terrible in standard, man. That's why I love FFPC tight end premium, because like you're really betting on touchdowns. As great, like in Pitts, his anytime touchdown bet is today's like plus 225. Not that I would, if I was another person, I would pivot to Colby Parkinson just because his odds of a touchdown are better. I don't like it better, but I mean, Pitts, like go look at the Vegas lines. His yardage line is probably going to be set at like 50 and a half, something like that. And that you would win in that case, or like it's going to be low for him. You have an easy one in that one. Plus, not to mention, I know we got to talk about this game's about to start soon, you know? Yeah. So like the Rams, I had people that were on Reddit. I'm always popping around those streets that were worried that the Rams might kind of sit people tonight or take it easy. No chance if I'm the Rams. No chance, bro. Because if you lose this week, they technically still could get the 5 seed, right? I think it's if they lose this week and then win next week and the 49ers win, they still get the 5 seed. But if they win this week and next week, they get the 5 seed. The 5 seed versus 6 seed is massive, in my opinion, in the NFC. I mean, we're talking about if you're the 6 seed, you got to play either the Eagles or the Bears, right? Don't want to do that. If you get the 5 seed, you're playing whoever wins this Panthers-Buccaneers game, right? One of those, like you're talking about teams that are like 8-9 win teams. Like I'd much rather go to Tampa Bay and play in Raymond James Stadium on that nice, on the nice grass down there than go and play against the Bears right now. Like, So for me, if I'm the Rams, I'm making sure that I win this week and next week, give myself the best shot at getting that 5 seed.
I want to explore that a little bit more and do our proper Monday Night Football preview here. I want to talk with you, Coop, not only about the resting and starters aspect and get more input from you on that, but the Kyren Williams-Blake Corum split that has developed, the tight end situation with the Rams tonight. And then on the flip side with the Falcons, we got Kirk Cousins, not Michael Penix tonight. I want to talk about your thoughts on Bijan Robinson next year in 2026 drafts, what Drake London's going to do at clearly not 100% tonight. And then Kyle Pitts, my God, we have to talk about him on an FFPC show because he has been the most phenomenal topic to talk about over the last 3 weeks and probably is going to decide who wins the FFPC main event and the FFPC Big Gorilla tonight as the FFPC gives away 2 separate $1 million grand prizes. Our Monday Night Football preview is coming up. He's Andrew Cooper at Coupe Fiasco on the X. You know him from Fantasy Alarm, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. My name is Eric Balkman. This is FFPC Insider Access on Championship Night in America right here on the Better Sports Network. Don't go anywhere.
What's up, guys? Andrew Cooper here, Fantasy Alarm, and it's that time of year at the FFPC Playoff Challenge. This is one of my very favorite contests. Forget about all your redraft leagues. Forget about DFS. This is one last chance for glory, and it comes during the NFL playoffs. Yes, you can go in with no salaries, no drafts, no convoluted stuff, and create your lineup to carry you through the playoffs. The only rule, you cannot pick two players from the same team, which I kind of like. I quietly don't want to get crushed by some stack of Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua. You have to pick one or the other. That's it. You pick 12 players. Try and set yourself up for glory here. And there's a lot on the line. Two different contests, $35 contest or the $200 contest with a $500,000 on the line in this one. It is one of the premier events in this fantasy football space. If you win this one, you go down in fantasy football history with the other gold-plated names at the FFPC. So get your contest locked in now before they fill, because I tell you what, they will. If you want to get into the FFPC Playoff Challenge, go to myffpc.com, sign up now, and you can use promo code ALARM, ALARM. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more.
Welcome back into the FFPC Insider Access Show here live on the Better Sports Network. Yeah, as Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm, who is guest co-hosting with me tonight, said, don't forget about the FFPC Playoff Challenge. Lock in those teams right now. No draft, no salary cap, no convoluted rules. Just pick 12 players that you want that are going to carry you all the way through the Pro Football Championship. You don't have to mess with that team. Once the wild card round starts, it's off limits. You can just watch it and enjoy. $200 entry fee will get you eligible for a $500,000 grand prize. If you want to play in the other FFPC Playoff Challenge we have, it is $35 to enter, and you're still eligible for a $100,000 grand prize. $200, $35 to enter both those contests. One player per NFL team. myffpc.com, myffpc.com is where to go on that. Want to welcome back in our good buddy Andrew Cooper from fantasyalarm.com at Coop A Fiasco on the X. You know him from SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, the tight end whisperer. Do you feel pressure on that, Coop, or is it just like something that you have every single year? Like you're just dialed in, the yin and yang tight end, the guys to focus on late in drafts. Are you just dialed in on this at this point?
You know, the thing about it is, like, people always ask me that about the pressure thing, but like I've had so many jobs through my life where I did feel like crazy pressure, and I did feel like imposter syndrome and felt like, man, I'm like in over my head. Dude, I love doing this. And I love talking tight ends. Baki, you know, people sometimes will be like, hey, you always talk tight ends, so let's talk running backs today or whatever. I love talking tight ends. I'll talk about, you know, I do every position, right? But I love talking about tight ends. Same thing with like the FFPC thing. Little known fact from those commercials. I never write anything down for doing those. I literally just get on here with Matt Deutsch and he hits play, and I just talk about these contests because I love them. You know, it's like I not one thing written down on those things. I think I did both the commercials or whatever in like 2 takes. Didn't matter because I love this stuff, man. So like with the tight end stuff, like I've been doing this long enough. Know the position's whacked. No one's ever going to get it exactly right. Every year there's a tight end that comes from outside the top 18 to finish top 5. This year it's looking like it's going to be Harold Fannin, and we're just doing our best. But with that kind of stuff, I put in so much work to get it right that I hate when it's wrong, and I hate when people, you know, they come back and they're like, "Oh, dude, you told me to start blah blah blah," and it didn't work out. Like I hate that for them, but just know that I'm doing every single thing I possibly can, so I'm confident with it at the end of the day. You know, it's like I should have picked a different position, obviously. You know what I mean? I should have picked a different position, but like, you know, we picked the hard one, and we're just gonna keep doing our best to help people win, man.
You know, I should ask too on this to kind of piggyback as we open up our Monday night conversation here. The Rams, if they win, are locked into the 5 seed, and maybe the conversation should more be like, oh, okay, are they going to rest starters in week 18 rather than week 17? If we look at what they have available tonight, the Rams didn't really rest anybody as far as inactives go. I mean, Devontae Adams is inactive, but he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Alaric Jackson, Kevin Dotson, Josh Wallace, Darius Williams, Jarquez Hunter, either those guys are legitimately hurt or they have no impact on the team tonight. So I think the Rams are out there to win it. And not much you can do about it anymore, Coop, because lineups have been set.
So my understanding is that if the Rams win this week and lose next week, they could end up with the 6th seed.
What I've read, if they win tonight, they're locked into the 5. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just
somebody in the chat. I see you guys, Ray. Somebody double check that, because my understanding was that if they win both games, there's actually a scenario where if they were to win, so if they win both games, they get it.
Yeah.
My understanding is if they win one and lose the other, then the outcome of the Seattle 49ers game determines whether they get 5 or 6. And then there's a possibility that they could actually lose tonight, and they could actually lose one of these 2 games and still actually get the 5 seed if I think if the 49ers win. So it's kind of all Coop, yeah, what do you got?
Here's what I have from Google AI. Okay.
If
to get the 5 seed, they have to win both these games. They have to beat the Falcons tonight, and they have to beat the Cardinals. And then they would need a Niners loss to the Seahawks in week 18, which would give them the 5 seed over the 6 seed. If they do play, if they go 1-1 or 0-2 or whatever, they'll play the Panthers, Buccaneers, or whatever. No, hold on. If the Panthers or Buccaneers, they have to be locked into the 4 seed, right?
The Panthers are low. Yeah. Well, whoever wins, Panthers or Bucks. Right? So they have a 4 seed. So basically, it's.
So if you're the Rams, like, not only do you have to win tonight, you got to win next week to make sure that you have this.
Panthers.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, but the thing is, they can actually lose one. They can lose one of the 2 games, and then if the 49ers beat Seattle, then the tiebreaker actually does make them. Does keep them as a 5th seed. So it's kind of complicated, but the end story is this: the Rams put themselves in the best position to get the 5 seed by winning both. If the Rams win both games, they get the 5 seed.
Yes.
And they should just do that. They should be like, if I'm them, I'm not messing around, because it is huge. In other situations, it's not that big a difference, in my opinion. In this one, it is huge because the 4 seed is so bad compared to the other seeds.
Yeah.
And just to put in perspective, so people realize, like, in a lot of cases, the 5 versus 6 versus 7 seed isn't the end of the world, because you're not getting a home playoff game. I know it's hypothetically possible. It has never happened. A 5 seed has never had a home playoff game because no matter what, you're playing next week. Like, you would need a 6 or 7 seed to knock off the 1 seed, to not basically the championship, right? The conference championship would need to be you against the 6 seed, which it's never happened.
Yeah.
So
if you're the 4 or 5 seed, you have to play the 1 seed the following week. The only way you get a playoff game is if chaos actually happens on that other side of the bracket, and you get 2 wins from either a 6 or a 7 seed,
which has never happened. I mean, the 4 seed almost never gets a home game. The last time I remember happening was the year that the Cardinals went to the Super Bowl and lost to the
Pittsburgh
Steelers. Yeah. The Cardinals were the 4 seed, and the Eagles knocked off somebody as a 6 seed. Like, and then the Cardinals got a 4 seed home game in the conference championship. Like, if you're the 4, 5, 6, 7 seed, you're planning to play road games. You have to plan to play 3 road games and win. That's why I'm a little. I mean, like, not to change the topic here, but I'm not really surprised that the Chargers are going to rest Justin Herbert here. Which I hate that. That makes me upset. Am I jumping the gun bringing up that topic? Or
No. I meant to bring this up at the top of the show. I'm glad you're bringing it up because it sounds like, and for those of you sickos that are playing in Week 18 championships, you should know that too. Probably no Herbert, no Hampton. I mean, I don't know what the route share is going to be like for guys like Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, Trey Harris, Rhamondre Gadsden. Maybe we'll get into that later on, but I'm just saying, like, right now, like that the fact that the Chargers are resting players, and then, Coop, the other thing too is, maybe Denver's up 21-3 at halftime in that game. And then if you have a Week 18 championship, it's like, okay, well, what am I expecting from Bo Nix, from RJ Harvey, from Cortland Sutton? Like, that changes things too from their side of the football.
It's a mess, man. It's a mess. But it's like, and you have to look at those situations for week 18. That's why I said at the top of the show, thank your local fantasy analyst that's doing content for this week, because we care about you. It's 3 times the work for maybe 1/50th of the people, but like we do care, man. I'm doing a full waiver article. I'm doing full rankings. I'm doing all of it, and I'm doing DFS and all that stuff. And again, I'm doing an FFPC lineup Friday show with Jacob Sanderson. We're doing it all, man, because like we only have so much football. We have to hold on to it, man. Never let it go. So we're gonna do what we can. But yeah, I mean it's huge. But the thing is, I'm a Patriots fan. You look behind me, you see all the who's this guy right here? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's all behind, but I don't blame him. Yeah. I don't blame him, because what are you going to do? You're going to go out and play a game that's not super meaningful. It only has seeding on the line. You're going to potentially get your quarterback hurt. You're going to potentially get other guys hurt. You're also going to, if you're going to try and win, show this team things that you might have to play this team again in a couple weeks, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me. And not to mention, this is a West Coast team. They are, no matter what, they're going to have to come over here to the East Coast for 3 straight road games, which is such a difficult task for those guys, right? It's no matter what, that's how it's going to play out, because it's all East Coast, Midwest teams. Like for me, I'm just going to rest and get the guy healthy. So as much as it pisses me off as a Patriots fan, Patriots have gotten a lot of schedule luck as it is. So it's about time for them to get a little bad luck, I guess. And hey, you know what? Maybe the shell of the Chargers can make a little run here, but I don't know. The Chargers, and this is bulletin board material for the Patriots, because they're basically choosing to play the Patriots in week 1 of the playoffs. So come on over, dude. It's going to be cold. It's going to be loud.
It's going to be cold. It's going to be fun for us. No offense to us non-Chargers and Patriots fans. We can just sit back and enjoy it. That's a great thing about being a Packers fan this year, Coop, is I expect nothing. And so if they end up winning a game or even 2, that's gravy.
Same with the Patriots for me. Next year is the year where it's like the expectations are very high.
But I will say this, Coop, like this was supposed to be the year for the Packers, right? This was supposed to be the year that they're going to go to, and then you lose Tucker Kraft and Elton Jenkins and Micah Parsons and all these other guys. Like it's so difficult to come back from that. So it's just like it's like as if you have the opportunity, you got to take advantage. I understand the reasons why 2026 is going to be high for the Patriots, dude. Like it's high this year, dude. You like New England's got to be like, we got to go out and win this thing. The Bills are down. It's the inexperienced Broncos, the even more inexperienced Jaguars. I mean, if you ask me
the Chiefs did make it. Mahomes is out. Burrow's out. You know what I mean? Like
perfect
rare opportunity. Dude, go Steelers, right? Keep Lamar Jackson out of here. Dude.
Yes, exactly. Keep him out of it. Like I think this is setting up for not to curse it, but I think this is setting up the Patriots this year. You're asking me on December 29th, 2025, who's going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, even if Denver gets the number 1 seed. New England didn't lose a road game this year, man.
Patriots right now, to me, it's house money, right? It's like we've already secured an entry into the FFPC main event next year. Mm-hmm. That's what we got, $2,000 buy-in. And right now we're seeing how much we can make, but that's when it matters. When next year, when they put the money in and put the chips in and say, hey, you know what? We actually figured out who we have and we're building the team and we're making the push. That's when it matters. And I'm rooting for your Packers too, man, because they're a fun team. They're going to rest everybody next week, right? Because they're locked into the 7.
They Matt LaFleur said this. Matt LaFleur also did say because of all the injuries, they probably won't be able to rest everybody they want to in week 18. But I can tell you this, the Vikings, and it could be the fighting Max Brosmer Vikings this week, are currently 6.5 point favorites over the Packers in week 18. So I don't feel like any kind of confidence there. Now, Matt Deutsch, our wonderful producer tonight, posted this about the Rams and their seeding in the playoffs. They can clinch the 5 seed if they beat the Falcons tonight, plus they beat the Cardinals next week. Or if they beat the Cardinals next week and the Niners lose to the Seahawks. Or they beat the Falcons, they tie against the Cardinals next week, and the Niners lose. The Rams clinch the 6th seed if they lose against the Cardinals next week, or they lose tonight against Atlanta, and then they beat the Cardinals and the Niners win. So there you go.
And,
so there is,
and if the results aren't in by then a 2-man sack race will be held on consecutive Sundays until somebody's been crowned champion. Right.
We will do rock, scissors, paper if hamstrings are pulled in that sack race.
That's right.
That's
Exactly. Of course. And then tiebreakers as they go. That's like this. You realize why the Patriots are in the position they're in with the tiebreaker here, and why every single game matters. I mean, we learned it last year with the Bengals when they lost to the Patriots and they didn't make the playoffs. But you realize what the tiebreaker is between the Patriots and the Broncos? It boils down, because of the way it's set up, to common opponents. And because the Patriots lost to the damn Raiders, that's the difference between
the Broncos will get the 1 seed. Then over
if both teams, right? If the both teams were to win, if both teams went out, it boils down to common opponents, and that loss to the Raiders is the common opponent difference. That's why every single one of these damn games matters, because that winning that game for the Patriots gets you an extra week off. That's why we say in fantasy football, scratch and claw for that bye week, because you could have gone up against Kyle Pitts if you didn't get that bye week. In the Kings Classic, the draft we do at the Expo, I was the 5 seed in Canton. Yeah, I was the 5 seed. JJ Zachariason had the best team all year long. Christian McCaffrey, all those guys. He just barely missed the bye week and ended up as the 3 seed. And guess what happens?
He lost.
I have Kyle Pitts. Yep. I won the league. I won the league. Cheers to my scrappy, literally terrible team, because I picked up, like guys like Michael Wilson and these guys. But that's the little things. JJ and I were joking about it. It's like he should have had the bye, scratch and claw for those bye weeks. And it is disappointing the Chargers aren't going to put in the effort, because that's the only way the Patriots could get it. But it's their fault, because they couldn't beat the damn Raiders at home in New England.
That's insane. You bring up a sore subject for me, and this is something that I thought about within the last couple of days. I'm in so many dynasty leagues, I can't keep track of like who I drop, who I add, and all of them. But I found out after somebody brought this up, and you reminded me tonight, in at least 2 dynasty leagues at some point this season, Coop, and it was probably earlier in the season, I dropped Michael Wilson. In a couple of times.
I was dropping him too.
And I know there's other people that have their sob stories like that they've dropped him. And I'm like, and I was listening to somebody talk about it the other day. I'm like, God, I think I did that. And I went back and I checked. And after 2 leagues, I stopped. I'm like, I don't want to put myself through this, but super frustrating. And I think the dynasty lesson here is think value and players can change like that. And you got to be able to hop on, like strike while the iron's hot. Whether it's trading away, trading for, cutting players, picking up players. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like the what I always look for in evaluating players early is the opportunity, because again, talent at times can be subjective, right? Mm-hmm. But there are some things we know for sure, right? Like in a lot of cases, we know who the really good quarterbacks are. And we know what kind of opportunity these players are getting. So if a guy is going out and he's getting a 60% snap share as a pure slot guy, I'm kind of hesitant to drop that guy early, because I don't know what he could be like as a full-time player. If he's playing with a bad quarterback, I don't know what things are going to be like for him. Like for instance, Josh Downs playing with these bad quarterbacks, playing as a part-time slot guy. I'm holding on to that guy because I want to see what he's like as a full-time player with different setups, right? If a guy gets a full-time workload, especially if that's with a really talented quarterback and gets a big opportunity and he doesn't perform with that, in most cases, I move on from that player. In most cases, I do. Like a guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, how many times do we have to see him play with Aaron Rodgers and then with Patrick Mahomes and then with Josh Allen before we finally say maybe this guy's not that good? And right. there are rare exceptions. The Packers have a rare exception of their own in Devontae Adams, right? Because Devontae Adams got a big workload early in his career, and then it took until year 3 for him to break out. But in most cases, when you have guys like that, I'm willing to move on. So with Michael Wilson, I mean, we did see a big snap share and a big role with and without Marvin Harrison Jr., where he was the wide receiver 1 in many of these games, and he wasn't delivering. And at that point, it's like when you're looking to see who you got to cut, okay, this guy's playing 95% of the snaps as a split end for this team for 3 years. Time to go. Turns out, though, maybe Kyler Murray was a problem. And when Jacoby Brissett came to down, things changed. So you got to make sure you've checked all the boxes on that. But I don't blame you for dropping Michael Wilson. I dropped him in a bunch of redraft leagues, had to scramble to get him back, So the way she goes, man.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've done it. It definitely will not be the last time I do something like that as well. So it is what it is. I want to go to YouTube here and check out Jelly of the Month, who is chiming in on YouTube.
Oh, I love Jelly, dude.
Jelly is up 6 facing Colby Parkinson. Jelly, this is a PPR and a point per first down league. Okay. He has the, or she, I don't even know. Jelly has the opportunity to play Drake London or Blake Corum up 6 against Colby Parkinson. Jelly has said that Jelly is going with Drake London. That is the way I see it as well with PPR and point per first down. But Coop, I'll let you weigh in on this. Which way would you go with London or Corum in this situation?
Yeah, I'm going with London. And if you had asked me this, after week 16, right, I might have had a different answer, because in that game, the Rams came out and they literally went drive for drive, splitting. Kyren did one, Corum did one. Kyren did one, Corum did one. And they've done that at times in the past, but Kyren always came out and he started the game. He always came out and he got the first drive of the second half, and he always got the 2-minute drill and important snaps. That was surprising to see that, but last week they went away from that split completely. I know Corum still has a decent floor, but you saw 71% snap share last week for Kyren, 29% for Corum. I think that in these certain situations, they're still, Kyren's still the guy. Kyren still, no matter what, is going to play more than Corum. Even if they were to split it right down the middle, he's the starter. So just like in week 16, they did 11 drives. He got the extra drive. So I'm going there. I know London's a little banged up. But yeah, I mean, I'm still on it. And Colby Parkinson, man, hypothetically, yeah, like he has been the starting tight end, but he's been the guy when there's pass rush. He's been the one they've asked to block and stay in. He blocked on 6 pass plays the week before last. Excuse me. Over the last 2 weeks, Terrence Ferguson's run more routes than him. So I'm not sold on Parkinson.
I think the other thing I'll bring up here, and by the way, I totally agree with you on London. Obviously, as I already mentioned, he also said great call on Loveland, Coop, which is fantastic for those of us who are basking in the glow of Colston Loveland, not only in Week 17, but Dynasty leagues going forward here as well. Coop, I want to ask you, you were teasing this Williams-Corum split, and how we saw it change last week. What do you think the Rams do next year? I mean, Williams, Corum, both going to be back, but they did draft Jarquez Hunter in one of my dynasty leagues where I had an open roster spot to play with going forward in the offseason. I did pick up Jarquez Hunter just to see what happens there. Maybe it's just an injury away situation. If one of these two guys down, then all of a sudden you're looking at Hunter stepping in as at least a 2, maybe a 1B here in this situation. But just in 2026, and not necessarily tonight, but Williams and Corum, how do you see this split going with Corum now entering his 3rd year in the NFL in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Corum is this was the year he had to put up or shut up. It was his time to come out and play because they like the kid Jarquez Hunter. And again, like we said, these are the guys that find those late round guys. And he had a good profile. And the way the draft went this year, anybody that was drafted in like that 4th, 5th round for me, the running backs, I kind of gave him a little boost. I kind of valued him in the same realm in terms of draft capital as the 3rd round guys because there was a big run on them once one guy went. You saw teams trading up for guys like Bashal Tutin and these guys, Cam Scatabo in that range. So yeah, I like Jarquez Hunter. We're seeing a lot of this in the modern NFL with the talent evaluation, where teams seem to be looking at what they do well and the guys that are in key roles in their offense, and they're just drafting very similar guys, which is not great for fantasy, but it seems to be working. Teams basically saying, we love this guy that we have. Let's go out and find the guy that's most similar to him. That way we're going to lean on this guy and we'll have this guy in our back pocket. And also we got 2 of them that we can do interchangeably. We saw it with DJ Moore. Everybody's comp for DJ Moore was Luther Burden. There he goes. My comp for Emeka Egbuka was Chris Godwin. There he goes. And like these guys have filled in valiantly when the other guy's been hurt. Jaden Higgins and Nico Collins. Jaden Higgins was one of my top split ends. I thought that he was going to go to a team that needed a big split end. Houston Texans with Nico Collins, who's had a history of injuries. They just said, hey, you know what? We're going to take this guy, and he fits the mold of what we like. And I see that with the Rams, with the running backs too, where they basically said, hey, you know what? We're relying heavily on this run game. Let's make sure we're covered there. And you see it. The teams that are deep are the teams that go deep. Like the think about, we thought the Buccaneers had too many wide receivers. How'd that pan out, Balky?
Yeah.
There were points where they had none of them, dude. They had no wide receivers. We thought, 4 was way too many. Turned out not to be the case. The Rams years ago, I mean, when they made their playoff run with Cooper Kupp, I mean, they they went out and they traded for Odell Beckham Jr., lost Robert Woods. Like, they were making the extra moves that they had to make. Like, if you're going to push the chips, you push them. That's why I've never been a fan of what teams like the Bills are doing. And I don't like it in Dynasty either. People they have all these grand plans of like, oh, I'm going to lose now, but I'll win 3 out of 4 in a few years from now. You know how hard it is to win a Dynasty league, man? Everything needs to break exactly right for you. And all the teams are top heavy. All the bad teams are tanking. All the top teams are awesome. Like, you got to push the chips and make those moves. And the NFL, it should be the same exact way. I'm so tired of this, like, kick the can. We're going to build a sustained team that's going to be we're not going to push the chips and go crazy in any given year. We're just going to build this team. I mean, that's how you get the Steelers. Steelers, yes. Yeah. Mike Tomlin, 17 straight seasons with a winning record, 22 for the Steelers. Are you happy about that as a Steelers fan? Are you really excited about that? If they lose this year, next week, and they're eliminated at 9-8, are you going to be like, hang the banner, hang the 17 just above 500 banner? No, I don't want that, dude. I would rather my team make a damn move and try and win this thing, man, because I'm always going to be a fan of my team anyway, whether they're good or they're bad. So, you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll be here.
The Monday Night Football game is off and running here. We have a pair. We have a pair of Bijan Robinson runs, 1 for 1 yard, 2 for 2 yards, and then a Drake London pass down the right sideline is incomplete. Looked like pretty good coverage for the Rams for Forbes on that play, and it will be the Falcons punting, 13:35 to go, 4th and 7 at their own 30-yard line going forward here. Nacua aspect, we're going to see him come on the field here in a bit, Coop. FFPC, full PPR, tight end premium leagues. As it stands right now, if you were drafting the 101, how likely would Puka Nacua be to being your first overall pick if you were in that slot?
Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question, man. It's a pretty loaded question because there's a lot of great candidates, right? And it's such a difficult balance between safety and upside, right? Like, this year I was drafting Christian McCaffrey wherever because, like, I just felt we're always going to be betting on our guys not to get hurt. So why not just draft the good players and then hope they don't get hurt? So it really depends on how you want to play it. If I was going wide receiver, I think I probably would take Puka Nacua or Jamar Chase at 1. Once again, I mean, Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow, you can't miss. With running back, part of me wants to just say, okay, where are the good teams? Who are the most talented players? Let's just take them. And it partially makes me feel like maybe I'll just take Jahmyr Gibbs because I truly believe he's an incredible player. I think that team's going to be good again. The safety of how they kind of mix and match with the rotation, like, it's really tough to say. And for me, we got to wait and see how it shakes out. But right now, if you were to put me in a way too early best ball, I probably am taking Puka Nacua just because the spike weeks are so high when they're good, and this guy is so damn good.
Tom Smith chiming in on YouTube here, Coop. Wouldn't it depend on if Matthew Stafford is coming back?
That's always part of the equation, man. That's always part of the equation. But I can't imagine Stafford retiring after coming off what could be an MVP season. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, hold on. But let me say this. Let's say he wins MVP. Let's say he wins the Super Bowl. At that point, the likelihood of him riding off in the sunset is fairly high.
Could go higher,
if we're drafting teams in January and February, we have to determine how quarterback-proof Nacua is. And we don't know because that's the only quarterback he's ever had.
No, I don't think anybody is, man. I think that's a myth, dude. I think that there's a number of wide receivers that, like, the thing about quarterback-proof, that's a concept to me that pertains to floor, right? Like, look at Andre Johnson. He was always the example of the most quarterback-proof player because he was always good. But Andre Johnson, with a great quarterback, probably would have scored 15 touchdowns. We saw it with Terry McLaurin. Like, what was the best touchdown season that Andre Johnson ever had? I don't think he ever scored double-digit touchdowns in his career. Like, look at Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin was always a 1,000-yard guy, and he was coming out and putting up 1,000-yard seasons, and he would score 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. And then Jaden Daniels came to town. What happened? Laser show, 13 touchdowns, right? Like, to me, the quarterback is always going to elevate the entire boat, which means more scoring, more offensive snaps, more everything. So to me, there are no quarterback proof wide receivers. There just aren't. There aren't quarterback proof tight ends either. Look at Brock Bowers, man. Like it has to be factored in. It has to be.
The Hall of Fame career of Andre Johnson, who was inducted last year, included 0.0
See what I'm saying?
double-digit touchdown years. He had 9 in 2009. He had 3 different years with 8 touchdowns. And then after that, he never had more than 6, which was his second year in the league. So you're right.
Insane, play with Matt Schaub and all these guys, dude. You put Andre Johnson with Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning or or Drew Brees, he's probably scoring 20 touchdowns. So it does matter to me.
Coop, the most recent addition into this conversation, Justin Jefferson with Mac Brosmer, with JJ McCarthy.
Why didn't I bring up that as an example? We could have been done with this conversation.
Yeah,
that's the perfect example.
And why it's perfect is we were talking about last year how this dude was quarterback. What did I just say?
Agnostic.
Quarterback proof. Quarterback agnostic. We drafted this guy, and I'm saying we as in the hive mind here. We drafted Justin Jefferson this year based on that line of thinking, and we found out he was not quarterback proof this year, and we have to take that into account in 2026 and beyond for a lot of these guys. The Rams are well underway here. It was a Kyron Williams 3-yard carry on first down here. Matthew Stafford hits I shouldn't say hits. It's an incompletion to Colby Parkinson deep. And then a short pass to Mumfield for 6 yards right around the first down marker. They rule him short of the first down, and then Evans has now punted it. It is a fair catch made by Tompkins. The Falcons take back over 1st and 10 from their own 35 with 11:46 to go in the first quarter. I know it's early, but Puka Nacua with a bagel so far. We'll see if that continues. I don't think it will. No. Okay. Other things I want to bring up on this Falcons-Rams game tonight. You mentioned Colby Parkinson. Tyler Higbee's been on and off IR seemingly the last 2 or 3 years. I'd be shocked, Coop, if the Rams invest day 1 or day 2 draft capital, even with this high pick with Atlanta that they're going to get next year into the tight end position. Is this Terrence Ferguson in 2026, or are we going to see more of this Parkinson, Ferguson, Higbee sort of conglomerate, Brian Davis that we've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks with the Rams? As you look at it here in late December of 2025, what do you think we're going to see in 2026?
Yeah, I'm extremely selective in Dynasty with my tight ends and who I'm betting on. Extremely selective, and I'm super willing to sell guys early, especially if they're not super athletic, and especially if I think there's any sort of potential split in that room. Like, we haven't seen a tight end that runs a 4.8 or slower finish top 5 in fantasy since Heath Miller in 2012, right? So I turn any moment I've got guys like that pop and get a starting gig, I'm moving them, dude. And Colby Parkinson, 4.77, not quite a 4.8, but like the moment I have a chance to trade Colby Parkinson, I do it, because I think Terrence Ferguson at worst is going to push a split. At best could take over the entire role and be the best pass catching tight end on the team. I think he's going to outscore him tonight. He outscored him last week. Like, I think Terrence Ferguson's good. I'm selling AJ Barner. People don't like to hear it, but I think Elijah Arroyo is just a better player. And Barner, I mean, if he's the guy, like, what do you really have? And people, he did you a massive favor by scoring a touchdown this week. You know how many pass snaps he blocked on this week? 9. He only ran 59% of the routes. I'm selling Barner. I'm selling Parkinson. Just like I was selling Dalton Schultz, I was selling Jake Ferguson, all these guys along the way. Austin Hooper, get them out of here. The moment they get an opportunity, you've got a golden parachute to get out of those situations. So you had a chance to sell Isaiah Likely. That, with the extension from Mark Andrews, that's now been kind of closed. Like, if these guys, it's so hard to be a fantasy relevant difference making tight end. There's 32 teams, and we don't have 32 fantasy relevant tight ends. Not even close. Like, anytime you get a chance to sell these guys, do it. Robert Tonyan, you should have got out of that game a while. Like, it's like these are the moment you get a chance on a guy you don't believe in, you get out. And then I'm also willing to overpay for guys I do believe in. And I think that this tight end class, this is not an exaggeration. The 2025 tight end class might be the best one for fantasy football of all time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was going to ask you about that too. Let's just tackle that right now. Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin. I mentioned Terrence Ferguson. Is there anybody else I'm forgetting here?
Of course, yeah. Elijah Arroyo, I like a lot too. I mean, there's a bunch of these guys. Like Gunnar Helm could be a guy. Here's the thing. And when I say, the reason I say it's not an exaggeration, people roll their eyes, best of all time. I don't think people have ever sat down and looked at the best tight end classes of all time. Very rare to have 4 guys from the same class all be fantasy relevant at all. Like,
were they all day 1 and day 2, Coop?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Ferguson, so was Loveland and Warren went in the first round.
Yep.
Ferguson and Arroyo went in the
Arroyo is
round.
one I don't know.
Yeah, Elijah Arroyo from the Seahawks. He went in the second round.
He went in the second round. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
He went in the second round. So, I mean, like, these are guys I like. I think they're all great. I think that they just need to carve out that role. But, like, you go through and you look at, like, the best all-time, like, the class that has the best 4 tight end combination in terms of career fantasy points, the tight end 4 on that list is Mercedes Lewis. You got yeah, for real. I mean, you got a couple of these classes where you had the class that was Gronk and Jimmy Graham, but the third tight end in that class did nothing, So for a class to come out right now, the best all-time tight end class potentially in terms of like having 4 guys that could continue to go is like, it's like Engram and Mark Andrews and like Gesicki and Johnny Smith. You just don't have these classes that have 3 or 4 truly great tight ends. And right now, when you look at Loveland and Warren and Fannin, if those 3 guys continue to be top 10 tight ends, that immediately makes, if 2 of those guys do it, immediately makes it one of the best tight end classes of all time. We just don't have these blockbuster tight end classes. So if 3 of those guys, we already have 3 guys that are good. If you just get 1 Ferguson or 1 Arroyo that pops, man, or Rhamondre Gadsden is in this class.
Yes,
like
I was the 2 guys we forgot in this 5th round Rhamondre Gadsden to the Chargers, and 2nd round Mason Taylor.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Huge pedigree on Taylor. It's like you don't know, man. And I truly believe this is a tremendous class. So
yeah, no, I'm with you.
So yeah, if you can get in on those guys now, that's the thing is when you look at the great quarterback and tight end classes, like quarterback especially, when it's very rare that like the 5th or 6th quarterback drafted is good, right? Mm-hmm. But when they are good, it's usually in classes where the 4 guys before them were good. Like look at Jalen Hurts, right? He was the 5th quarterback off the board, but you had all these other guys that were starters like Herbert and Lawrence and Tua and all these guys.
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, right? There you go. And they're all, I know Tua's kind of fallen off here, but the 5th guy, they were all just good, right? So with this tight end group, and you see it with the class with Drake May and the quarterbacks in that class and Caleb and all these guys and Jane Daniels, like it makes me want to invest in the other guys from that class. Same thing with this tight end group. I look around and I'm like, man, Colston Loveland's great and Tyler Warren's awesome and Harold Fannin's good. Maybe I do want to go out and buy low on Elijah Arroyo and Terrence Ferguson, because what if they're good too and they just haven't got a shot? And this whole class was just gangbusters.
This might be an unfair question to ask you, Coop, but you're the tight end whisperer. If the price was all the same on all these tight ends, and you could only pick 1 tight end from this class to have on a dynasty team, and the price is all the same, so you're paying the same amount, which one of these guys do you believe is the guy that you want in your dynasty teams? Which one of these guys is going to have the best career? Loveland, Warren, Gadsden, Taylor, Fannin, all these guys. That
is a difficult question for sure. But the guy I'd want is Colston Loveland, just because he has the best combination of things that I look for.
Good.
Well, were you going to interject?
I was just the thing is, like, I've seen what Fannin's done at the collegiate level, where he had a 1,600-yard season, 100-plus catches. Now he comes into a Cleveland situation where he is clearly the guy that opposing defenses, should be focused on. And Yet he still finds the end zone. He is still catching passes from a quarterback that people left to die in the 5th round in Shadir Sanders. So listen, with all due respect to Chicago and everything they're doing there, I know Loveland's draft pedigree. I know how good Ben Johnson is of a play caller and a head coach. I know Caleb Williams was the 101 in the draft. But given like everything that has sort of been stacked up against Harold Fannin, I just look at the standpoint of like what he's been able to do. Man, I really, really like that.
He rules. They're all great. They're all great. But in Dynasty, one of the hardest things is projecting what a team is going to do moving forward, right? In our minds, what we want them to do and what we believe they should do is do what the Ravens and the Chiefs and the Cardinals have now done, which is basically say, we have this guy, and he plays a big chunk of snaps at wide receiver, and he's as good as a wide receiver, and he's a better blocker than wide receivers. So we're going to not go crazy loading up on wide receivers, and we're going to build the offense around him. That is so rare. That is the end goal in Dynasty, is to have a completely built competing team that isn't interested in other weapons because they have theirs, right? And we had it with Kelsey for years. We had it with Andrews. But in a lot of cases, what ends up happening is you think you have that, and the team's not built yet, and then they go out and they add pieces, and it smokes us, dude. Like, for years, we waited for Dallas Goedert to be the guy, and the moment he was the guy, they get A.J. Brown, then they draft Devontae Smith, and it makes him the third fiddle, which is a death sentence to be the third target on a team. So for me, with Fannin, there's that little extra bit of uncertainty where I say, what if they're building this team and it's not over yet, and they do go out, again, there's a lot of quarterback uncertainty too, and then they go out and they add these wide receivers and they do all that. Like, I still love Fannin a ton, but when you're splitting hairs, those are the hairs I'm splitting. Same with Tyler Warren. Yeah. Tyler Warren's an inline every snap tight end on a team that likes to use a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. He's not necessarily fully locked in as a guaranteed top 2 target on the team, as much as annoying as that is. Whereas Colston Loveland, they have an abundance of players. We're going to see them actually potentially shed guys here. I think they have most of the pieces in town already. And he also is a guy that plays a lot of wide receiver. And when you play wide receiver as a tight end, it takes a wide receiver out of the game. And that's one less piece of target competition. Not to mention, if you really just sat down and said to yourself, I can't choose between Loveland and Warren, and you think it's a toss-up, well, one guy is 2 years younger, right? And same thing with potentially Fannin versus Warren. Like, that could be the tiebreaker for Fannin over Warren too. Is Fannin's younger than Loveland even, isn't he?
He is. I'm going to look it up right now.
I think he is. I know he is. So, like, 2 years. We're talking 2 years, not just like if we're talking about a couple months, I don't care, but 2 years younger. So I think honestly, there's an argument to be made for any one of those 3 guys to be one. I'm sticking with Loveland for now, but I mean, all those guys are great, and that's why this class could be the best tight end class of all time. It really could be.
Fannin is younger, as you just said, than Loveland. It's only by about 3 months, just over 3 months.
Yeah, Loveland. Dude, this is how sick individual I am. Right. Loveland's birthday is in April.
Yes.
And
hold on. Let's do how big of a sicko is Coop tonight. April 9th, 2004 is when Colston Loveland was born. He's 21 years old.
And Warren's birthday
is Harold Fannin's birthday, Andrew Cooper.
So Fannin. So I will say this. While you have it up, Warren's birthday's in May. I do know that.
Oh, okay. I'll look that.
Pull Warren up, because I know those two. Those two.
So Tyler Warren, May 24th, 2002. So you're right. He is 2 years the senior of Loveland and Fannin. Here's a hint on Harold Fannin. His birthday is 3 days after my father's. So good luck on that being a good hint for you.
Let me check the old Appleton.
My dad's from Milwaukee. So
if I had to guess, I would say it's in August.
No, it's July.
July. Okay.
Yeah.
1 month off. 1 month off. So I knew they were all fairly close. I knew that Loveland and Fannin were fairly close, and I know that
Fannin is July 20th.
Yeah.
So he is he is basically 3 months younger than Loveland, and both of them are.
He's a full 2 years, full 2 years younger than Warren, and to me, that there's something to be said about that. And you factored it. There's a ton of risk in Dynasty that comes with that. It's over now, but think about a guy like RJ Harvey. Had RJ Harvey missed, J.K. Dobbins kept the role and he just didn't even carve out a role this year. Now you got a 25-year-old running back, man, or what would he be next year? Like, so hard to trade those guys because Harvey was a converted quarterback who tore his knee up. Like, that's the biggest danger with those guys because think about how hard the value fell off with like a guy like Dwayne Eskridge.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I've been a little sick during the holidays, but I was never going to turn down a show like this, brother. But yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, like just you think about like some of these guys, you have to factor them because like even in the trading world, when a guy's super young, we're willing to give him more and more chances. Like Alexander Madison was young forever, and you could always kind of sell people on that. When these guys are 26, think about like the Bears wide receiver there, Vele.
Not Vele.
No, Velus Jones. Velus Jones, like
Jones from Tennessee.
Yeah. The moment that guy didn't hit, you're like, man, now I got a 26-year-old sophomore, and the value falls through the ground. You know, it plummets. Like, so you got to all those things have to be factored in because in Dynasty, more than any other format, perceived value is real value, you know? Like, because in redraft, it's really hard to trade, but in Dynasty, the whole game's based on trading. So perceived value is so big. It really is, man.
So great stuff here from Coop, from Fantasy Alarm, Andrew Cooper. I want to get back to the game here real quick, just to give everybody an update.
Oh, there's a game on?
Yeah, the game is on.
I always want to talk deep cut, Dynasty.
Yeah, no, and we
have game theory, you know.
You're getting both ends of the spectrum here tonight, Coop. It's been insane. So basically what we had on that last drive, I mentioned the Bijan Robinson 5-yard gain. It was a false start after that. Cousins hits David Stills for 13. Then Tyler Algier, 2-yard carry. It was a Bijan Robinson for 8-yard carry, followed by another David Stills catch for 20. Beg your pardon. Yeah, for 20 yards inside the 10. Bijan gets down to the 2 with a 7-yard carry. Bijan Robinson. He loses 2 yards, but fret you not, Bijan Robinson owners. He catches a 4-yard touchdown from Kirk Cousins to put the Falcons up 7-0. After the kickoff, it's an incomplete pass to Nakua. It's another incomplete pass down the right sideline to Colby Parkinson. And right now, the Rams have it with 6:01 to go in the first quarter. It is now 3rd and 10 from their own 35. We'll see what they do here. Speaking of tight ends, we were just talking about him quite a bit. And Coop, I'd be remiss if I did not mention Kyle Pitts tonight, a guy that is in the rare situation, I believe, of being one of the most polarized players literally every single year he's been in the NFL. From his rookie year to his sophomore year to his 3rd year in the league, like it just keeps going on and on. Every single person I talk to in the high stakes space, it always seems like they have a thought on how good Kyle Pitts actually is. Now we see him, and spoiler alert, it looks like both the Big Gorilla and the FFPC main event are locked up tonight, no matter what happens. And both owners are going to have Kyle Pitts on their roster, okay? So I have to ask you, what is the real Kyle Pitts? I have seen seemingly a Doctor Strange multiverse of madness versions, like numerous versions of Kyle Pitts in the NFL. I don't know what's real. And most importantly, I want to know what you think high stakes players and just fantasy players in general are going to do with Pitts in drafts next year.
Yeah, I mean, Pitts was a guy that, I was vouching for from the start, and from his from the down season in his second year, I was buying all the way through, just because the thing is this, I don't think people realize at the tight end position how rare it is to have true difference makers. True difference makers. This year we have one. Kyle Pitts has, for a stretch here, has been one, but like Trey McBride is having a top 5 all-time season. You know how like when you look at and this is why I never draft tight ends early myself. In FFPC, I might.
I'm going to stop you there. You never draft tight ends early. What happens to this yin and yang? I feel like you still would have to draft
them. I always wait. Dude. I never draft them early.
Okay, so then the yin and yang thing, this is advice for other people. This is not.
No, I use it, but no, the yin and yang is we wait and we take 2. So I don't draft one early and then one late. I wait until everybody's drafted. Yeah, I wait until everybody's draft 10th round. I take Hunter Henry and Kyle Pitts. In fact, that's how I won the Kings Classic. Right. I waited on tight end and quarterback, and then I took 2 at each position because I had already drafted 10 straight running backs and wide receivers, you know? So I waited and I took Pitts and I took Hunter Henry and I took Justin Herbert and I took Trevor Lawrence. And I already drafted 10 running backs, wide receivers, so I was good there. Like, so that's that strategy. The problem that you run into, and again, on FFPC, where it's tight end premium, that changes the equation because the scoring's different, right? And these guys can have all-time great seasons at any position. That's the beauty of it. But at in a regular PPR league, a tight end has never been the number 1 flex player in the league. Not even close. I mean, the number 1 tight end all-time season. Do you know who has the number 1 all-time tight end season?
Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez. I don't know.
Keep going.
Further back?
Just name the best tight ends of all time.
John Mackey.
Recently.
More
recent than John Mackey.
I don't know.
It wasn't Ditka.
Yeah, that was my next guess. Was Ditka?
Think all-time great. Like
Kellen Winslow. I'm trying to think. Is it more recent than Kellen Winslow?
More recent than Kellen Winslow, yeah.
Like Kellen Winslow Jr.
When you named Antonio Gates and that crew.
Oh man, who else was drafted right around? I mean, Tony Gonzalez. It's not Gonzalez.
More recent than Tony Gonzalez.
More recent. Gronkowski.
Gronk.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I should have talking to the Patriots guy.
The year Gronk had 18 touchdowns one year, and that'll do it. Yeah. And that's a big reason we look for guys that are top 2 targets on the team, because that year Wes Welker had 173 targets. Didn't stop us, right? But that season was only 330 PPR points, Balky, which is a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. But, I mean, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, these guys are putting up 400. You know what I mean? Like, if you picked Trey McBride, who's on pace for like 315 or so, that's great. But the optimal pick probably was Jackson Smith and Jigba. You know what I mean? Right. Like something. Yep. It's like, it's so rare for a tight end to even have 300 PPR points. And these other guys putting up 400. For me, every year I make a big list. This is my strategy that's worked for me for a long time. I make a big list of every player I think can be the number 1 flex player in fantasy. And then once that list is exhausted, I will consider taking a tight end or quarterback. The problem is that list is always 24 players. So I almost never take a quarterback or a tight end in the first 2 rounds just because of my philosophy on that, you know? So, and again, the other part of it is that, like, I'm contractually obligated to find breakout tight ends. So, like, I'm already
it sounds like you did a bang up job on quarterbacks this year too.
Yeah, I mean, we crushed this year. And again, because I put out, people don't know this unless they're Fantasy Alarm members. People are like, why don't we do, because I would say we came out with Yin and Yang tight end like 5 years ago, and we hit on like Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, got really lucky with the timing, not gonna lie on that. But like, we've been using that. People are like, why don't you do that at other positions? I was like, we do. I put out a dynamic tier rankings for every position that does exactly that. It ranks, if you draft if you take one of these quarterbacks, that's your quarterback. You're not drafting 2. If you take Joe Burrow, that's your quarterback. You don't take 2. Once that list is over, we take 2, and you go high risk, high reward. You know, Justin Herbert was my safe pick. Trevor Lawrence was my top pick, and we give ourselves an access and upside that way. So same thing at quarterback that we do at tight end. And for Fantasy Alarm members, every year I do that, color coded. I do it at wide receiver too. I say, here's the top 24 wide receivers. Here's a list of safer guys. If you're in a deep league with like 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots, here's a list of high risk, high reward guys. We're like, we do it that way, man, and we crush. I mean, the Fantasy Alarm, we did good this year, man. And that's why we get not to toot our horn, but that's why we get like the best product award, FSGA, and a lot of that stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, Fantasy Sports Writer Association Writer of the Year, Andrew Cooper. When did you guys win Best Radio Show? Was that last year as well for Fantasy?
Last year. So, okay. Well, while we're doing it, we won FSGA Best Midsize Product. I won Football Writer of the Year, Football Article of the Year, and we won.
Yeah.
And we also won Radio Show of the Year. We won all 3 last year.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, this is why we have guests on like Andrew Cooper. This is why we do a special Monday show when Coop is not on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio.
More Monday.
Intellect on Monday night, which is great. Hey, by the way, speaking of Monday night, we had a developing situation. in this Rams Falcons game. So we last left you when it was 3rd and 10 for the Rams. Stafford hits Xavier Smith for 18 yards. Blake Corum rushes for 5 and 4 yards, respectively. Then Puka Nacua gets his first catch, 10 yards. Blake Corum gets a 3-yard carry. And then we have Davis Allen pushed out of bounds for 1 yard. There's a penalty, no play on that play. So the Rams end up getting a Parkinson catch for 5 yards on the next play. Incomplete pass to Mumfield, a 4-yard pass for Mumfield, setting up 4th and 1 from the Falcons 11, and Kyron Williams loses 2 yards on that play. So it looks like, as far as I can tell, it's going to be 1st and 10 Atlanta from their own 13 with a minute to go in the first quarter. They have gone to break on Prime. We're going to take a quicker break here. When we come back, much more and many more Week 17 reactions from Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm, Coop A Fiasco on the X. I'm Eric Balkman. Don't go anywhere. We come back for the duration of the show, coming back right after this.
What's up, guys? Andrew Cooper here, Fantasy Alarm, and it's that time of year at the FFPC Playoff Challenge. This is one of my very favorite contests. Forget about all your redraft leagues. Forget about DFS. This is one last chance for glory, and it comes during the NFL playoffs. Yes, you can go in with no salaries, no drafts, no convoluted stuff, and create your lineup to carry you through the playoffs. The only rule: you cannot pick 2 players from the same team, which I kind of like. I quietly don't want to get crushed by some stack of Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua. You have to pick one or the other. That's it. You pick 12 players. Try and set yourself up for glory here. And there's a lot on the line. 2 different contests, $35 contest or the $200 contest with a $500,000 on the line in this one. It is one of the premier events in this fantasy football space. If you win this one, you go down in fantasy football history with the other gold-plated names at the FFPC. So get your contest locked in now before they fill, because I tell you what, they will. If you want to get into the FFPC Playoff Challenge, go to myffpc.com, sign up now, and you can use promo code ALARM, ALARM. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more.
FFPC Fantasy Football Championship Night in America rolls on here on the Better Sports Network. My name is Eric Balkman. He's Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm at Coop A Fiasco on the X. The Rams indeed did turn the ball over. Falcons have taken over. It is a 3-yard carry for Bijan Robinson, followed by a 9-yard carry for Bijan Robinson, and that will be the end of the first quarter. Quarter number 2 coming up when they come back on Prime Video here. The Falcons leading the Rams 7-0 in Atlanta. Coop, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the stuff I didn't get to earlier on in the show, so I might jump around here. My apologies on that.
Works for me.
Chase Brown, 22 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. He went crazy this past week. Also gets 3 catches for 40 yards. Joe Burrow obviously crushed it, and he's going to play, at least start the game against the Browns in Week 18. Do we, as fantasy owners, when January drafts roll around, do we just draft the Bengals based on how we drafted them in 2025, assuming health, assuming Burrow and Higgins and Chase Brown? Do we assume all that, or are there some flies in the ointment? Is there a monkey in the wrench, as John McClain would say, when it comes to the Bengals potentially adding some backfield help and some rumors going around that Joe Burrow might not be a Bengal next year? How do we handle the Bengals? Because we know the upside is very high with this offense in January, but we know things can change here as well.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's watching the show from the beginning knows my feelings on Duke Tobin. I think that he should be fired. I think that he is of the GMs that don't actually like own the team, like Jerry Jones. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the worst. I think Mickey Loomis should be fired as well. But I know he's like best friends with the ownership there as well. But like, just how can you set the team up the way that he has and not be the first head that gets cut off. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you look at like their problems could have been solved literally just by keeping a couple guys. Like they're the worst team maybe ever against the tight ends. They had Jesse Bates. You know what I mean? Like one of the best safeties in the league, right? To me, I think he should be a guy that's gone here. And even with the team the way it's built, it can still be one of the best fantasy football teams out there. So I have no problem drafting these guys. With a guy like Chase Brown, people look at him and they say, "Oh well, he doesn't get all the snaps," and they do a lot of empty sets with Drew Sample, and they like Samaje Perine, and they'll probably have a pass down back. Well, you know who said those things last year about the Buffalo Bills and James Cook this offseason? I did. I was scared of James Cook because of Ty Johnson and because of Ray Davis and because of Josh Allen, and I was wrong. I that was a guy I wasn't drafting much of, and I was wrong. And at the end of the day, this is a good player on a good offense with a good quarterback, and sometimes it's all you need. I mean, I watched Jamal Williams fall into 18 touchdowns. LeGarrette Blount, 18 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert, million touchdowns, whatever it was. So for me, I'm not going to fall for that again. If Chase Brown is with the Bengals and Joe Burrow is the quarterback, draft him. Draft him.
Do you so knowing that they obviously have Samaje Perine on this team, they drafted Taj Brooks last year. If you are drafting in January, February, March, anything before free agency in the draft, do you draft Chase Brown based on him being the guy in this backfield, or do you draft him being perhaps maybe a 1A in this backfield?
I'm drafting him. I think the 1A in the modern NFL, 1A is fine. 1A is good. I don't think they bring in again, they use way more empty sets than any other team. So like that part of the game isn't really something that if it gets taken, like, Samaje Perine already does that. And it's not a problem. I don't think they're going to bring in a bruiser to convolute things. I mean, they tried that with Zach Moss. It didn't really work. I think they're all set there. They've got bigger problems. If they, with the issues they have on defense in the secondary and the offensive line, if they go out and spend meaningful draft capital on running back, that would be insane to me. Insane. So
but yet totally sane for Cincinnati.
For Cincinnati, well, it's the what is it? The theory of the fallacy of rational coaching.
Assuming rationing coaching.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I wrote a whole article this year. I wrote a whole article this year on fallacies. Check it out at Fantasy Alarm. Type fantasyalarm.com/fallacies. It comes right up. But I don't know, man. I think that's a guy that they got bigger fish to fry, and I'm going there. The places where you get scared are where you've got these teams that are good, but the run game has been inefficient and possibly has been problematic. As crazy as it sounds, I worry that the Seahawks, with their 1-2 punch, like they are kind of looking for the right guy. There were rumors about them being in on Devon Achane. Like certain teams where everything has been good, but the running could be better. That's where I worry about it. You know what I mean? Like the Cowboys with Javonte Williams, a lot of these teams, like where the guys aren't under contract. That's where I worry a little bit more.
The game I want to get back to here real quick. I think I mentioned the Bijan Robinson 9-yard catch. It was an Algier carry for 4, and then 6, and then 3 from Algier. Then Kyle Pitts gets hit for 5 yards. Drake London gets a 4-yard catch as well.
No more London.
Yeah, well, listen, we're 12:32 in the second quarter. I think we may have to expect a little bit more London. How significant that's going to be, I don't know. The Falcons have now taken a timeout. 11:45 to go in the second quarter. This is a 1st and 10, I believe, from the Falcons. Yeah, 1st and 10 from their own 47 as we motor through here. TreVeyon Henderson, I want to ask you about this, Coop. A guy that we were very excited to get back in our lineups in week 17, and yet it was the Rhamondre Stevenson show. If we look at the contract situation for Rhamondre Stevenson, we don't have to look at it from the standpoint of TreVeyon Henderson because we know he's under his rookie contract for the next several years. But we look at Rhamondre Stevenson, he is under contract, although there is a potential out after next year. So it sounds like he's still going to be in the backfield conversation with Henderson next year. This is going to be fascinating to see how people develop their flag plants on the Patriots backfield, because we know how good Henderson could be, but we also understand, and maybe the postseason for New England is going to tell us what New England wants to do next year. We know McDaniels and Vrabel do like the veterans, although I guess Henderson becomes a veteran next year.
Right.
I don't know, man. You're the Patriots expert. Tell us what to expect in 2026 as it stands right now to the best of your abilities.
I mean, I've been watching Josh McDaniels for 19 years, right? Like this is now year 19, 18 with the Patriots, right? And we know what they want to do. And it's a super, super underrated part of football. And actually a recent quote from Pete Carroll. It was Dave Canales shared a quote that he got from Pete Carroll that really sums it up. And that's, it's okay to have tendencies in the NFL as long as you know what your tendencies are, right? And teams can take advantage of that. The Patriots did for years with the split backfield, right? Where they have one rundown guy on every for early downs and for obvious short yardage downs, whether that was Corey Dillon or LeGarrette Blount or Stephen Ridley or then Jarvis Green Ellis, didn't matter, right? They had the early down guy, and then they had the pass down guy. They had Kevin Falk, and they had James White and Dion Lewis and Rex Burkhead and Danny Woodhead and all these guys. And they split it. And where people thought that was dumb is they thought, oh, when this guy's in the game, we know what they're doing. And that's what they wanted you to know. They wanted you to think because it made play action when LeGarrette Blount was in so deadly. And it made draws and screens when James White was in so deadly because you're thinking it's a pass and you're leaning that way, right? And when teams know that and take advantage of it, they can really catch you off guard. If you have a singular back for every down, the defense is never cheating. You can never really rug pull them with these big chunk plays, right? So I think the Patriots want it to be like that. And I'll give you an example from this year that I really think a team hurt itself by going away from that is think about the Lions last year. The Lions had that. When David Montgomery was in there, you're thinking run. And when Jahmyr Gibbs is in there, you're thinking pass. And then you turn and you hand the ball to Gibbs on a draw, or you throw it to Monty, or you run like a play action with Monty. And that was so effective for the Lions. And then this year they went away from that. They just used Gibbs every play. You lost that whole element. You lost that whole element of deception for that team that I think certain coaches understand, and I'm just not sure they understood what the repercussions of phasing out Monty were. And you see it with the Patriots now. Who is making the big catches and catching teams by surprise? It's Rhamondre Stevenson because he goes in the game and you think, oh, this probably won't be a pass. And you take your worst linebacker and you put him on Rhamondre Stevenson. And then Rhamondre Stevenson catches a 40-yard pass against him. Or it's play action. I think that's the element they want. And I'll tell you what, it's terrible for fantasy football.
It is.
It's so bad.
It comes down to it's
so
really
bad for fantasy. It is. But Josh McDaniels that's been his whole career. Going back forever, that's what they did. And if they can keep that going, I don't see why they would. It's, in my opinion, better for chunk plays than having two backs that do the same thing. If you can get the defense to cheat, that's where you pull the pants down with a 50-yard play. And that the NFL is built on a handful of big plays determine every game.
Explosive plays, absolutely.
Plays.
Yeah, we hear coaches talk about it all the time. Let me ask you this, Coop. Loaded question. Given their perceived, and I'm using this in quotes for those of you watching on audio or listening on audio, given their perceived ADPs in 2026 drafts, would TreVeyon Henderson or Rhamondre Stevenson represent a potential league winner for you?
Yeah, I mean, TreVeyon Henderson could be. TreVeyon Henderson could be.
But not Stevenson. Because people are going to drive that guy down in drafts. They're really going to drive him down.
I think that Stevenson, it could end just like David Montgomery, just like LeGarrette Blount. I mean, LeGarrette Blount, the year of course, if he scores 18 touchdowns like LeGarrette Blount did, when Blount caught like 7 passes that year, he finished like RB7. I think it's just going to be, it's like the Montgomery Gibbs situation where one guy, if the Patriots are as good as we hope they'll be, maybe you can get a Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara type season from these guys, which is the gold standard for split backfields. 2017, where Kamara was RB3 and Ingram was RB7, right? But based on the skill sets and the play styles, the guy that could truly rip your face off and be the league winner would be Henderson, because he is more of the Kamara, Achane, Gibbs type guy that can rip off the big chunk plays. He can go out and catch 10 passes in a game. People forget James White, like gold-plated pass-catching back.
Yeah.
Also himself had a top 10 PPR season. He had a year with 123 targets. He has the record of any player for most receptions in a Super Bowl. Not Jerry Rice. James White had the most receptions in the Super Bowl. Like, this role for Josh McDaniels is a good one, and the upside is just is based entirely on how good can the offense be for both players. So if this offense, if they go out and just spend everything on offensive line, both these guys could be incredible. But TreVeyon's the guy that could be the next Jahmyr Gibbs, where we say, I don't care if they have David Montgomery. This guy is just too damn good, and this offense is too damn good.
It's wild to think that TreVeyon Henderson could get the James White role in this offense and do more with it than White ever did.
Yeah.
His draft pedigree like this. Here's the thing. December 29th, 2025. You heard it here first. Coop Fiasco comparing TreVeyon Henderson's role in 2026 to potentially Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think it's warranted as well. That is going to wrap things up tonight. We got to fly out of here. Once again, fantasyalarm.com at Coop Fiasco. Give us an update, Coop, on what you're doing in the offseason once again for Fantasy Alarm.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock already, man. Let's just do. I can't get on here that often, man.
4 hours. Let's do 4 hours.
Let's do 4. Quick snack break, right? I mean, I'd be down, man. I love talking with you, man. I love hanging. Every time I get to see Matt Deutsch's face, dude, just lights up the room, man. So thank you. He's behind the glass today, putting all the stuff up here and supporting us, man. Just great crew over here. And that's why I love playing on FFPC. And that's what's next for me. My FFPC content. You see me on the commercials here, dude. I just do that because I love you guys, man. And I love FFPC. And I'm going to do one more week. Jacob Sanderson's going to be on Friday. And we're going to do the weekly challenge, the week 18. But we're looking 1 week ahead. Theo Rhamondre will be on for the next following Friday, and we're going to do the FFPC Playoff Challenge. Again, I have an article up on basic strategy on that now. There are some things you got to know, like when you don't want to have your kicker and defense going really deep. You ideally want to have like a good quarterback or running back going deep. I broke it all down in the article, so check that out. And then I'm going to have a more specific article coming out soon on that. And then after that, I get right into the offseason. And all these things Balky and I talked about today about like, okay, whose role is safe? Who is potentially going to get released? Who could a team draft in to come in as competition? I read an article on every team. And in that article is a color-coded chart where if your guy's in green, he's safe. He's the starting quarterback of the team. No one's going to come in and change that. If the guy's yellow on there, it means he's probably on the team, but they could bring in someone to compete for his role. If the guy's red on the chart, that means that he's in danger of actually being released. And if the guy's name is in there, but it's white with no color coding, that means that he's a free agent. And I go through and I hit every team that way. And that's how we get ready for free agency and the draft. And we get a massive advantage in all these early best balls and stuff. So that starts one article for every single team. Even if you just want to check out your own team and see what that, I know a lot of people that are not even fantasy fans will message me and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And all that. So I do love doing that. And that's coming soon, baby. I'm already, truth be told, I'm going to be getting started on that literally tomorrow because fantasy football ends right now.
The Jacob Sanderson episode of the Fantasy Football Fiasco, is that noon or 1 p.m. Eastern on Friday?
What good question. 1 to 2 p.m. So that's going to be this Friday. And then next 2 Fridays, we're going to do that. And last year, we even brought it back for like the second chance 1, 2. So I'll probably have 3 shows, man. You know that. Dude.
Awesome. Coop Fiasco. Check out everything he's doing Fantasy Alarm wise at fantasyalarm.com. You heard all the team stuff that's going to be going on in the offseason. Of course, check out this Friday, 1 p.m. at Fantasy Alarm on YouTube, the Coop Fiasco channel with Jacob Sanderson, which is going to be good. Fantastic stuff tonight, Coop. We'll have to have you on again on a non-Thursday show for you. May the ball bounce your way in week 17. Keep up the great work. We'll do this again very, very soon. Thank you so much for hopping aboard, man.
Dude, always a pleasure, man. And again, Mondays, dude, pencil me in.
All right, you're the man. I appreciate it. FFPC World Famous Playoff Challenge is live now. MyFFPC.com. $200 entry fee gets you eligible for $500,000. $35 entry still gets you eligible for $100,000. 1 player per NFL team. Get your entries in now. MyFFPC.com. That's MyFFPC.com. Shout out to Andrew Cooper tonight. And of course, our producer, Matt Deutsch, will be back normally on our Thursday night time, at least next week.
Ooh.
7 p.m. Eastern time. I know Coop hates it. But Joe Bartel, from RotoWire will be my guest co-host for that. For Andrew Cooper, for Matt Deutsch, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been FFPC Insider Access on Championship Football, Fantasy Football Night in America. Here, it has been FFPC Insider Access. Good luck, everybody, for the rest of Week 17. Enjoy the rest of the game. Talk with you next week. Thank you.